3, so you could kill out the trash over and over again without killing the first boss and keep resetting, or you could clear out the whole raid and hope you get all of the mounts that you want. If not, you'd have to come back when it resets. Down to the final 2 zones now, and the next one up is going to be Uldum, which has a handful of mounts we can get from it. The first one up being the Grey Riding Camel, which is quite difficult to get because it's kind of like a rare spawn and then a proc of that rare spawn. It's weird. But throughout the zone you'll find this item called Mysterious Camel Figurine. It can spawn pretty much anywhere across the zone. It does have set positions, but it does spawn all around the zone. If you find one of these, there can only be one up at a time, and it does have about a 2 to 8 hour respawn. If you happen to find one, you'll click it, and when you click it, you'll have about a 5 to 10% chance of it either turning into dust or teleporting you to a separate phased area where you'll have a rare spawn that you can kill, and when you kill that rare spawn you'll get yourself the title and the Grey Riding Camel. So once again, a kind of rare spawn of a rare spawn type deal, and you're probably going to be going after this for quite a while, and the statues are really small, so you have to really be paying attention and looking out for them. The next stop within Uldum is going to be Throne of the Four Winds, and from this raid we can potentially get the Drake of the South Wind. So you'll find Throne of the Four Winds kind of southwest of the zone, and it is in the air as well, so you will need to fly to it. It's a raid, so we can only do this once per week per character. So you'll head inside, and it's the last boss that we're after, Alakir. You'll kill Alakir and you'll have around a 1% chance of getting the mount. The final stop within Uldum is going to be Vortex Pinnacle, which we'll find more southeast of the zone, and this is a dungeon that can give us Drake of the Northwind. So you'll head over to Vortex Pinnacle, which once again is in the air. You'll head inside, and you can do this on either normal or heroic, but it is a farmable mount if you do it on normal, so you could do it over and over again. You're going to run through the dungeon, and we want to kill the second boss in the dungeon, Alteris. You'll kill Alteris, you'll have around a 1% chance of getting Drake of the Northwind. If you don't get it, I would recommend just jumping off, and that'll take you to the start of the dungeon where you can reset a little bit quicker. Don't worry, you're not jumping off in disappointment. And then that's pretty much it. You can rinse and repeat this raid over and over again if you want to, or you could just run it on heroic once per day if you want to, but the drop chance doesn't change, so it's really up to you how you want to approach farming this mount. The final zone in our Kalimdor tour is going to be Tanaris, and there's actually quite a few mounts we can potentially get from this zone as well, all of which are going to come from the Caverns of Time, which you'll find kind of on the east side of the zone. So you'll want to head to the Caverns of Time, and you'll head into the center of the Caverns of Time area. Here we'll find a bunch of dungeons and raids, but there'll be 2 in particular that are of interest to us. The first being the Dungeon Cullen of Stratholme. From this we can get the Bronze Drake on a 100% drop chance. So you'll head in there, you'll be making sure you're on heroic difficulty, and you'll clear through the dungeon. As a 120 you should be able to do this in plenty of time, but you'll essentially have a timer on the top of your screen, and you have to make it towards the last boss, not kill the last boss, but just get into the last boss's area. And before you make it into the last boss's room, if you take a left, you'll find an infinite dragon, which will be kind of like a mini boss. You'll kill that mini boss, and you'll be awarded with the Bronze Drake on a 100% drop chance, assuming you've done everything in time. So with the Cullen of Stratholme done, the next point of interest in the Caverns of Time is going to be Dragon Soul. This is a raid, so you can only do it once per week, and there's going to be 3 mounts we can potentially get from here. The first being from the 4th boss Ultraxion, which is going to be Experiment 12B. That's going to be on around a 1% drop chance. So you'll head in there, you'll kill Ultraxion, you'll have around a 1% chance of this mount dropping. Now I would recommend doing Dragon Soul on heroic, as doing on heroic will give you a chance for the 3rd mount. If you do it on normal, you're only going to be able to get potentially 2 mounts instead of 3. So if you go through the whole raid, you make your way to Madness of Deathwing. Then from Madness of Deathwing 10 men, you'll be able to get the Blazing Drake, which I think is on about a 2%-ish drop chance. And if you do this on heroic, doing Madness of Deathwing, you're going to be able to get the Blazing Drake again, but also the Lifebinder's Handmaiden, which is a heroic only drop. That's on about a 1% drop chance. I do believe the Blazing Drake has a slightly higher drop chance than the Lifebinders, but I might be slightly wrong with that because data is skewed. But either way, keep coming into the raid and killing off Ultraxion and then Madness of Deathwing to try and get all of the 3 rare drops from this raid. So that does bring us to the end of our Kalimdor World Tour, but I will be covering the other continents and the mounts that you can get from the various zones within those continents in videos coming up very soon. So look out for those if you found this a little bit of fun and interesting. Either way, look out for more videos coming soon. Thanks for watching, guys. See ya.
Time to help people customize and save with Liberty Mutual. forgot my wallet.
Fuck out of this group.
Hershey's milk chocolate with whole almonds. Holy delicious. Holy Hershey's.
In this episode of our World of Warcraft Mount Farm World Tour, we're going to be taking a look at the mounts you can get in Eastern Kingdoms, the ones that make sense at least for this series. In the last episode, we took a look at the mounts you can get in Kalimdor, and there should be a pop-up now if you missed that episode. Our first stop is going to be the Isle of Quel'Danas, which we'll find way off north of Eastern Kingdoms, and to get there you either want to take the flight path, or alternatively if you head over to Shattrath City, which is found in Outland, you'll find a portal that will take you directly to the Isle of Quel'Danas, probably the fastest way of getting there depending on where you are currently. Once you're on the island, you'll find a dungeon called Magister's Terrace, and if you run Magister's Terrace on heroic difficulty, then the mount that we can get from this dungeon is the Swift White Hawkstrider. That's going to be on about a 3 to 4% chance of dropping, and it's going to drop from the last boss of the dungeon, Quel'Thas Sunstrider. As this is a dungeon, you're going to be able to run it once per day on heroic, so you can have one chance of doing it per character every single day. The next destination is going to be the Ghostlands, and off to the east of the Ghostlands you'll find the dungeon Zul'Aman. From this dungeon we can get the mount the Armani Battle Bear. So what you'll want to do is head inside Zul'Aman on heroic difficulty. You'll head in and you'll speak to Vol'jin, who will basically start the event to start the dungeon. You'll have to click on the gong. Once the gong has been clicked and the gates open, you'll see a timer at the top of your screen. So to get this mount, what we have to do is complete the first 4 bosses within that time frame. For a 120 character there should be no problem whatsoever. Just kill the first 4 bosses in the order that I killed them in. The order isn't particularly important, it just makes sure you don't make any mistakes or fail along the way. So you'll kill the first 4 bosses, and then on the 4th boss kill, it's not actually the loot from the boss that we care about. Instead, you're going to speak to the prisoner in the cage, and they'll run around and break all of the pots. And then on the final pot that they break, there will be a bag. Inside the bag should be the Armani Battle Bear. Now this is meant to be a 100% drop chance. Some people do claim that they've not got the mount from their first run. I'm just going to say it's either bugged, and I would check the other prisoners, the other 3 prisoners that you saved, and check their loot, because it may have bugged out and ended up with them. Or they've just done it wrong in some way, shape or form. But some people do claim this weird 99% drop chance. So if you don't get it on your first run and you're sure you've checked all the other prisoners, then just come back the next day, because it's pretty unlikely that you do it 2 days in a row and don't get it if this 99% drop chance is actually true. Just next door to the Ghostlands will be our next destination, and that's going to be the Eastern Plaguelands. Within Eastern Plaguelands you'll find the dungeon Strathholm, and there's actually 2 entrances for Strathholm. We have the living side, which is kind of like the main entrance, and then you have the undead side, which is the service side entrance. So we'll want to go to the side entrance, which you'll find just kind of east of the main entrance. Here you'll find a little gate, you'll click on the gate and you'll be able to head inside. From this dungeon we'll be able to get the mount Rivendare's Death Charger, which is going to be a 1% drop chance from the last boss, Aureus Rivendare. So to get to the last boss you'll have to clear through the dungeon, but this one can be a little bit tricky if it's your first time running it. First of all you'll have to destroy the 3 ziggurats, and to do that you'll kill the boss outside of them, and then all the bosses inside. Once all 3 of them are destroyed, the Butcher Quarter I think it's called will open up. You'll head over there and you'll kill off all of the A-bombs in this area. Once you've killed them all, then a larger boss A-bomb will spawn, you'll kill that. Then a side gate will open and a wave of undead will spawn, and you'll have to kill all those little undead. Then when you're finally done with that, 4 kind of bodyguards will come out, you'll kill the bodyguards, and you'll finally have access to the last boss, where you can get yourself a chance at the mount. As this is done on a normal dungeon, you can run out after killing the last boss, reset it, run back in, and have another chance of getting the mount. You can keep doing this over and over again. The only thing that will slow you down / limit you is the 10 lockouts per hour, but outside of that you can keep doing it as much or as little as you want and keep having repeated chances at the mount in one day. Our next stop is going to be Arathi Highlands for the new rares that were introduced with the Warfront changes. There's going to be 5 rares here for Horde and Alliance, and these are all going to drop a mount that will be on about a 5 to 6% drop chance. You can only kill these rares once per cycle though, not once per week or once per day, once per cycle. A cycle is when the Warfront goes from the patrolling state all the way through the other various states like the Siege, etc., back into patrolling. Once it gets to patrolling again, you'll be able to have another shot at the mounts. The first mount up is going to be the Little Donkey, and this is going to drop from Overseer Crix. Now this rare will move depending on who is in control of Arathi Highlands at the time. If Horde is in control, then the rare will appear in the Alliance mines, and if Alliance is in control, then the rare will appear in the Horde mines. so do keep that in mind when you're looking for the rare. The next mount up is going to change depending on if you're Horde or Alliance. For Horde you're going to get the Broken Highland Mustang, and that is going to drop from Knight Captain Aldrin. And for Alliance you're going to get the Highland Mustang, which comes from Doom Rider Helgrim. The next mount up is Skull Ripper, and this is going to be the same for Horde and Alliance, and its spot won't change, and it drops from the rare Skull Ripper. It will run around the rock a little bit, but it's pretty much always in the same spot. The next mount is the Witherbark Direwing, and this is going to drop from Nimar the Slayer, which is going to be the same for Horde and Alliance also. And then the final mount is the Swift Albino Raptor, once again same for Horde and Alliance, and this is going to come from a rare very close to Nimar called Beast Rider Kama. So you'll find that it'll be walking up and down a little bit, but you should find it pretty easily, kill that, and then that is the last of the rares that we can get from Arathi Highland. The next spot on our Eastern Kingdoms tour is going to be Stormwind, so that's obviously going to be for Alliance only, and the 2 points of interest here are going to be Deepholm and the Darkmoon Fair if that's up. The reason this is Eastern Kingdoms only is because we covered these on the Kalimdor one for Horde, which is their access points for these two places. So our first stop is going to be Deepholm, and to get there you'll head over to the northeastish side of the zone. You'll find a portal circle. There'll be a bunch of portals in like a circle in the water, and you'll click on the one that will take you to Deepholm. And within Deepholm you'll find the Dungeon Stonecore. From the second boss within Stonecore, you can do this on normal or heroic. You'll find the mount, the Vitreous Stone Drake. That's on about a 1% drop chance, and you can repeat this over and over again if you want to on normal, until you get locked out of course. Or you could do it once a day on heroic. The drop chances are exactly the same. Also within the zone of Deepholm, you'll find the rare spawn Aeonax, although Aeonax is actually a rare spawn of a rare spawn, so you could be waiting a day to find it, you could be waiting 3 days, you could be waiting a week. It's a quite RNG heavy respawn timer. But when Aeonax does spawn, you'll kill it and you'll get yourself the Phosphorescent Stone Drake, which will be on a 100% drop chance. The hard part is just finding it.
Money on the Tinkers because there were certain ones I needed.
TikTok is the myth that brings the music.
Oh, I thought that was the freaking cube.
Join TikTok at Lollapalooza. Grab a pack for a chance to win.
Aeonax. So now that we're done in Deepholm, we're going to head through the portal back to Stormwind, and we're going to head to Goldshire in Elwyn Forest, but only if the Darkmoon Fair is active. The Darkmoon Fair comes around once per month at the start of the month for about a week. So if that is up and active, you'll head over to Elwyn and you'll find a portal that will take you to the Darkmoon Fair. Once there, there'll be 3 different mounts we can get from the Darkmoon prize tickets, and you get Darkmoon prize tickets from handing in the quest items, which you get from the Adventurer's Guide. This can be done once per cycle, so every month basically. You can be farming these from various sources using the Adventurer's Guide, having it in your inventory, but I generally buy them from the auction house. They don't cost that much. You can also be doing the daily quests at the Darkmoon Fair Island, which will also give you Darkmoon prize tickets. And with the tickets, we'll be able to buy 3 mounts. The first being the Swift Forest Strider. This is going to cost 180 tickets. The second being the Darkmoon Dancing Bear. That's also going to cost 180 tickets. And then finally we have the Darkmoon Dirigible, which is going to cost 1,000 tickets. So that's going to be the one that you're going to be working towards the most. Also, while you're here, you could do a spot of fishing, and you'll be able to get the Darkmoon Daggermores, which can either be used to turn in for another mount, which is the Darkmoon Fair Skate, or alternatively you can buy the Daggermores from the auction house. There's also a quest item that you can buy once per character that will give you a decent chunk of tickets too, so if you haven't done that, I definitely would recommend doing it. I think it gives like 200 tickets, so it's definitely doing the first time round if you haven't done it. The next 2 destinations are going to be for Horde and Alliance again, but you'll want to stick around your major city, so if you're Alliance you'll want to still be in Stormwind, and if you're Horde you'll want to head over to Orgrimmar. That's because, yeah sure, Orgrimmar is outside of Eastern Kingdoms, but we'll be using Orgrimmar to get to the next location that is in Eastern Kingdoms. So, near the portal circle where we're at for Deepholm, etc., there'll be another portal just off to the left-hand side that will take you to Tol Barad. You'll click on that and we'll head over to Tol Barad, and there's going to be 2 mounts that we can get here for Horde and Alliance. The first mount is going to be the Spectral Wolf, which will be for Horde, and that is going to cost 160 commendations and will require you to be exalted with your faction at Tol Barad. The next mount is for Alliance, and that is going to be the Spectral Steed. It's going to cost these same commendations, and you will also need to be exalted. The final mount is going to be shared between Horde and Alliance, and that is going to be the Drake of the West Wind. and that one is going to cost 200 commendations, and once again you will need to be exalted. You can get exalted by doing the various dailies found at Tol Barad. You'll want to do the dailies at the Tol Barad Peninsula, and then there'll also be the separate PvP zone in Tol Barad as well, that if your faction is controlling it at the time, there'll be a bunch more dailies for you to do. So you want to be trying to get all of those dailies out of the way, and honestly by the time you have enough commendations to buy a mount, you should be exalted anyway, so getting to exalted isn't the hard part. The hard part will be continuously doing the grind to get all of the commendations. Once we're done at Tol Barad, we're going to head back through the portal back to Stormwind or Orgrimmar. This will be the final time now. And then from there we want to go to Vashir. If you haven't unlocked Vashir yet, you should find a quest line that you can follow. It should be found on the Call to Arms board. You might have to accept some of the newer quests, but eventually you should find a quest that will take you to Vashir. You'll follow that chain, you'll be sent out to Vashir, and then once we're in Vashir there's going to be 2 different mounts we can get. The first mount up is going to be the Vashir Seahorse, and this will add to your total mount collection, but unfortunately this mount can only be used in Vashir. Although it is pretty simple to get, you'll basically just continue the quest line that you were following to get to Vashir. That should continue, and eventually you'll get to a quest to tame a turtle. You'll tame the turtle, it'll die unfortunately. And then you'll go on another quest to tame something a little bit faster, which will be the Seahorse. Once you're done with that quest, then you'll have the mount and you'll be done. It's pretty straightforward, it takes like 10, maybe 20 minutes, so not very long at all. The next mount we can get from this zone is going to be Reigns of Poseidus, and this is a BOE mount, so you can also pick it up on the auction house. It doesn't go for that much nowadays, and that is because Poseidus was a rare spawn with a pretty hefty respawn timer. But in Legion the respawn timer was changed and nerfed quite a bit, and now it's on about a 3 to 8 hour respawn, so you'll find this in Vashir. It does have 5 different spawn locations, which I'll be showing now, and you basically just want to be checking those 5 spawn locations, seeing if Poseidus is up, and if it is up you can kill it and you'll get yourself the mount, which I said is BOE, so you could either use it or sell it if you want, but it doesn't go for a whole lot nowadays. So once we're done in Vashir, we're actually going to swim up out of the water and then get yourself on a flying mount, and you're going to fly back to the mainland of Eastern Kingdoms. Just be a little bit careful with the direction that you take so you don't die to fatigue. You can easily make this flight, but if you kind of take a diagonal path, then you're probably going to die to fatigue, so just be a little bit careful on how you fly there. But our next destination is going to be Stranglethorn Vale, and there we're going to find the dungeon Zul'Gurub. Once you're at Zul'Gurub, you'll head inside, as this is a heroic only dungeon very similar to Zul'Aman, so your difficulty will automatically be set to heroic, and there's going to be 2 potential mounts we can get from this place. The first one is going to be the Armoured Razashi Raptor, and the second mount is going to be the Swift Zulian Panther. Both of these mounts are on about a 1% drop chance, and you're only going to have 1 shot at these every day because it is a heroic dungeon, so you can come back every day and have an additional chance. So for the Armoured Razashi Raptor, you'll want to kill Bloodlord Mandrakir, which you'll find kind of off to the northeast side of the dungeon. So head over to him, kill him. There's rumours that he needs to be off his mount or whatever, but that's pretty much crap. Just kill the boss and you'll have about a 1% chance of getting the mount. Next one is the High Priestess Kilnara, and you'll find her more off to the west side of the dungeon. Head over to the west, it'll be inside like the temple, and kill the boss once again, nothing special you need to do, and you'll have about a 1% chance of getting that mount. The final zone on our Eastern Kingdoms tour is going to be Deadwind Pass, and you'll find this zone right next to Stranglethorn Vale, so fly over there, and there's going to be 3 mounts that we can potentially get from this. The first mount up is going to be the Fiery Warhorse, which we're going to get from the raid version of Karazhan. So to get into the raid version, you'll want to head through the main entrance of Karazhan, which you can see right now. Going to head inside here, and we don't have to go very far, we just have to kill the first boss, who is a Toonman. Now all of the trash will pull when you pull the boss, but that doesn't really matter. Just basically run your way to the boss, kill the boss down, and you'll have about a 1% chance of looting the Fiery Warhorse. Now as this version is a raid, we're only going to be able to do it once per reset per character, so if you want additional chances you will have to do it on ults, and then do as many ults as you can that week. Now that we're done with the raid version of Karazhan, next up we want to do the Mythic Dungeon version. To get to that you'll want to fly up to the right side of Karazhan, and you'll find the side entrance that you can head inside. Do make sure you're on Mythic though, as this stuff won't be working on Heroic. So there's going to be 2 mounts that we can get from this place, the first being the Smouldering Ember Worm, and the second being Midnight. I'm going to run through how to get the Smouldering Ember Worm first, because that's basically a timed run of Karazhan. So once you're inside and you click on the wooden doors, the timer will begin. and you'll basically just have to run through the dungeon with moderate speed, but as a 120 this shouldn't be too much of a struggle depending on your item level. So you're going to kill down the Opera fight, and then in the audience section, after you've killed Opera, you want to head over there and there'll be a purple crystal that you can click on. Now a couple of things to note, you want to make sure one person, if you're doing this with multiple people, you want to make sure only one person is clicking the crystals, and while you're channeling the cast you want to ensure you're not moving. You want to stand perfectly still, as I have heard that moving will interrupt the cast and the crystal can despawn. So once one person has the first crystal, then you want to make your way over to Maiden, but before you get into Maiden's room, there'll be a side room to the left. You want to head inside there, and there we'll find another crystal next to the bed. The person who clicked the first crystal should be the same person to click this next one, and the same rules will apply. So now we've got our second crystal. Next we're going to head over to Morose, which we can jump down and head into the kind of dining area to get to him. You're going to kill Morose, and then just behind Morose will be our third crystal. Same rules once again, make sure the same person is clicking it, and make sure you pick up Morose's keys as well, because they'll be useful. Now that we have the third crystal, we're going to head over to Attunement, but we're not going to head into Attunement's room. Instead we're going to take a left, and then another left, and we'll be in this kind of spider area. And you want to follow the spider area down, and then to the right, and there we'll find our fourth crystal. It'll be kind of surrounded by webs. So get our fourth crystal, and then with 4, we'll click on the portal just behind the fourth crystal, and then we're going to head up to Curator. So once we're at Curator, you're basically just going to kill Curator, and in between his legs after he's dead should be the 5th crystal. It can be a little bit tough to click, so it might be worth looting any loot that's there just to make the click a little bit easier. And then once we have all 5 crystals, you'll get a new buff, which will be Medivh's Presence, and that'll only have a 5-minute duration, but that's plenty of time. And you're going to take that buff, you're going to run back down, and you're going to head onto the terrace. And then on the terrace, you'll find Medivh's kind of ghost. You'll speak to him, and then after a little bit of RP, then Nightbane will spawn, and this will be a boss that you have to kill. And then once you kill the boss, you'll have a 20% chance per person of the mount dropping. So if you're doing this solo, you're going to have a 20% chance of getting the mount. If you have 3 people in the group, regardless of if they have the mount or not, you'd have a 60% chance. And if you have 5 people, a full group, you would have a 100% chance of the mount dropping. Even if 4 people already have it, the 5th person would guaranteed get that mount. So now that we're done with the Smouldering Ember Worm, the final mount left to get is Midnight, and to get that we're going to head left back over to the terrace, and you should find a staircase that will take you down. You want to follow this down, and this will actually take you into Attunement's rooms, kind of an alternative entrance. So you'll head all the way down there, and you basically just want to kill Attunement, and if you've done this on Mythic, then you'll have a 1% chance of getting the Midnight's Eternal Reigns, which will give you the Midnight mount. So that does bring an end to our Eastern Kingdoms mount tour, and if you enjoyed this video then look out for more of these, because everyone seemed to really like the Kalimdor one, so we're going to continue with Outland next. And if you did enjoy this video or my videos in general, then consider supporting the channel on Patreon. Even $1 support helps quite a lot. You'll find a link to that down below in the description. Outside of that, look out for more videos coming soon. Thanks for watching guys, see ya!
Pain hits fast, so get relief fast. Tylenol Rapid Release Gels.
The World of Warcraft Mount Farm World Tour is back. We're continuing it with the next episode, which is going to be covering the mounts that you can find in Outland. And if you haven't seen this series before, I would recommend checking out the other episodes that cover Eastern Kingdoms and Kalimdor. There's a lot of mounts covered in those episodes, so you're missing out if you haven't seen them. There'll be a link down in the description below and a pop-up now if you want to check them out. As mentioned in this episode, we are going to cover the mounts you can get from Outland. The first stop on our tour of Outland is going to be Shadowmoon Valley, and there we're going to be able to get the Neverwing Drakes. This is going to give 6 mounts in total, and honestly the Neverwing Drakes still look pretty damn good, considering they were introduced in the Burning Crusade, which was a pretty long time ago now. I think they've held up really well and still look pretty good for today's standards, so in my opinion definitely a cool mount to go and get. To get started with this, you'll want to head to Shadowmoon Valley as mentioned, and off in the southeast area you'll find an NPC called Mordecai. He's just kind of to the right of the Sanctum of Stars. You'll go speak to him and he will have a quest chain for you to work through. So you'll go through the quest chain, you'll aid the Neverwings, and you'll be gaining reputation with the Neverwings as well. Basically our overall goal is to gain reputation with the Neverwings. Once we get exalted we'll be able to get the Drakes. But before we can get to that point, we're doing this quest chain to unlock the dailies, but more importantly, the repeatable handing quest for Neverwing eggs. So work through this quest. There are certain bits that can be a little bit bugger, So if you do get stuck on a quest, I would recommend just checking out Wowhead, or I do have previous videos on this as well if you want a bit more detail. Work through the quest chain and eventually you'll end up at Neverwing Ledge, where you'll unlock the dailies and you can start working through the dailies. You'll also get a quest to hand in a Neverwing Egg, which will give you 350 reputation, and then from there you can find Neverwing Eggs all around Neverwing Ledge, and also a little bit more north where we were questing previously. And there's also an add-on that I'll link in the description below that will help you find the Neverwing Eggs a little bit easier. But they are hidden around, so you want to be keeping an eye out for them, and every time you hand one of those in you'll get 250 reputation, so you could technically grind your way to Exalted, but it is still going to be quite a time dump, so do keep that in mind. I would recommend doing a good balance of finding eggs and doing the dailies. Once you do hit Exalted, you're going to be able to come back. You'll get a quest that will send you off to pick one of the drakes for free. You'll get the drake that you want for free, and then you'll head back to Neverwing Ledge, and there'll be Drake Dealer Holunk who will sell you the 5 that you're missing. So at the end of all of that, you're going to end up with 6 Neverwing Drakes for your mount collection. The next stop on our tour is going to be Terakar Forest, and the first mounts we're going to get from there are the Never Rays. There's going to be 5 Never Rays in total, and to get these you need to be exalted with the Shatari Skyguard. This is a reputation grind, but it's a repeatable one, so you could grind it out in a day if you wanted to. It's fairly lengthy, but definitely doable in a day, but you can split it up over a few days and get it done that way. Now to get started, you'll want to head over to Sketis in Terakar Forest. It's kind of in the southeast, and just a little bit north up the stream, you'll find a little camp where the Shatari Skyguard are, and you'll be able to start the quest chain. So you need to do the quest chain to start out, you need to complete the whole quest chain, and you'll get the first quest from Severin, which will be World in Shadows. This quest chain will also essentially teach you how to do the repeatable grind as well, so make sure you're working through this quest. And there is one notable part. There'll be a bit where you need to kill these kind of 3 named Arakoas, and one of them will drop a quest item that you need to pick up and use. So do make sure you do that, otherwise you'll be stuck and you won't be able to continue on the quest chain. So do make sure you're looting everything as you go along. But work through the quest chain and you'll need to kill mobs and collect shadow dust, and you'll hand that in and you'll get an elixir to see extra mobs, and then you'll find these extra mobs, they're called like time lost something. Killing these will allow you to collect time lost scrolls. You need to collect 40 time lost scrolls, and then you can hand them in to be able to summon these 4 mini bosses, and then you'll kill the 4 mini bosses, you'll get more items from them which you can hand in again, and then you'll be able to summon a kind of boss called Terok and kill him, and you'll get another chunk of rep. And all of these steps give you reputation once you're done with the quest line at least. So you essentially just work through the quest chain, get it all done, and then once you're done you can start repeating and basically collecting the dust, turn the dust in for the elixir, use the elixir to kill time lost mobs, kill the time lost mobs to collect the scrolls, use the scrolls to summon the mini bosses, which you can find at these like purple crystals, kill the 4 different mini bosses, hand in their items, and kill Terok. And you repeat those steps over and over again once you're done with the main quest line. Keep repeating that over and over again until you are exalted. Once you are exalted in that same area where the Shatari Skyguard are, there'll be a reputation vendor, like a quartermaster, and you'll be able to purchase your mounts, and then you'll have your new 5 Never Ray mounts to add to your collection. We're not quite done in Terakar Forest yet though, as our next mount is going to come from Orkandun. So you're going to head over to Orkandun, and there in the East Dungeon you'll find Sethic Halls. Make sure you're on Heroic difficulty, as running this dungeon is going to give us a chance at the Raven Lord. This is a rare drop mount that's going to come at about a 1 to 2% drop chance, so fairly low, and as it is a Heroic dungeon you can only run this once per character per day. So do make sure you're on Heroic, run inside and clear through the dungeon. There's nothing really special you need to know about this dungeon if you're a fairly high-ish level character, and if you're from like 80 onwards I don't see having any issues with this. But run through the dungeon until you reach the boss, the second to last boss, Anzu. It's a big bird, it looks pretty much like the mount. Kill that boss, there's no particular special way that you need to kill it, you just need to kill it on Heroic, and kill it on Heroic will give you a 1 to 2% chance of looting the Raven Lord. The next stop on our world tour is going to be Nagrand, and there's going to be a bunch of Talbuk mounts we can get from this zone from 2 different sources. The first one up is going to be your faction, so for Horde that will be the Maghar, and for Alliance that will be the Kuranai. You'll get to Exalted with this faction and you'll be able to purchase the 8 Talbuk mounts from your quartermaster from that village. To get started with this, for Horde you'll want to head to your village within Nagrand and find Juranai Deadeye, and he'll give you the quest Impotent Leader. If you've not done this before, this is basically the prerequisite to become neutral with the faction and begin doing the quests and be able to do the repeatable quests to get more reputation. For Alliance, you'll want to head more south. You'll find the Alliance base, and there you'll find Huntress Bintuk, and that will start the quest Do My Eyes Deceive Me. Now for both factions, I would recommend picking up the Soft Foam Sword, as this will allow you to get one of the NPCs to low HP without killing it, as you need to do that for the quest requirement, so it's going to help you a ton as a high level character. Once you're done with this little bit of a chain, you'll be sent back to the village, and you'll now be able to do a bunch of quests. But there'll be one in particular that we're after. For Horde, that'll be from Warden Bullrock, and that'll be proving your strength. For Alliance, that'll be from Warden Mubif Jill, and that'll be Fierce Enemies. I probably just absolutely butchered that name, but it's fine. Same difference. And that'll give you a quest to go and collect these war beads. You'll go and collect war beads from ogres. There's a bunch of different ogre camps within Nagrand. Head out there, kill ogres until you've collected enough. Head back, and that'll give you a chunk of reputation, and from there it's literally just repeating the steps over and over again, just getting war beads and war beads and war beads, and every time you hand in 10 you'll get 500 reputation. So it's going to take quite a few hand-ins to get yourself to Exalted, but it's a very relaxed grind essentially. You'll just run around one-shotting ogres, looting them for war beads, and eventually you'll end up with enough to get you to Exalted. Once you're Exalted, you can pick up your 8 Talbuk mounts. The next 2 mounts we're going to get from Nagrand are both Talbuks again, and that is the Dark Riding Talbuk and the Dark War Talbuk. And these are a little bit more finicky, I say a little bit, quite a bit more finicky to get, as they come from Hala, which is a PvP based area within Nagrand, and not many people are doing PvP in Nagrand anymore, so it does make it a lot more difficult. But first of all, you'll need to take over Hala at some point, so I'll explain how that works now. Basically, Hala is a PvP area. You'll head in there with PvP flag on, and you'll kill off the opposite faction guards if your faction doesn't currently control it, that is. Kill off all the guards and sit in the middle where the flag is. The flag will eventually tick over, and your faction will now control Hala. Eventually your NPCs will spawn in and you'll be good to go. Now, what you need to do to get these mounts is collect 2 different types of tokens. The first one is the Hala Battle Token, which you only get from doing PvP in Nagrand. So unless you have a friend on the opposite faction that's willing to just let you kill them over and over again, and they call it graveyard respawn or something along those lines, then you're not going to be getting these very easily. The other one is the Hala Research Token, which is basically from killing mobs. You'll get this dust. You'll be able to turn the dust in at Hala if your faction's controlling it, and you'll get the research tokens. Now there is an alternative, and the alternative is what I would recommend doing. The alternative is to go to Warlords of Draenor. Oh, that's kind of weird, I know. But if you go to your garrison in Warlords of Draenor, there is actually a mission that can appear on your mission table where you send off your followers. There'll be a mission that can appear that will give you 100 of the battle tokens and 40 of the research tokens. So you would only need to do that twice to have all the tokens you need to get these mounts. So I definitely would recommend any alts you've got, whatever, continuously go into your mission table, doing any of the rarer missions, getting those out the way so they can reset, and keep looking out for that mission that's going to give you the tokens, because that's going to be your easiest way of doing it. If not, I'd recommend checking out some discords or something and look for someone who's maybe willing to trade deaths. They'll kill you, get their 170 tokens, and then you'll kill them. Outside of that, you're probably not going to find enough people to kill, and then you've got to go grind the mobs for the research tokens as well, which is quite painful. The dust is fairly rare as well. So yeah, it's going to be a pain, but I definitely would recommend the Warlords of Draenor route. It might take you longer overall, but in terms of time invested, I think it will save you a bunch of time. So either way, get your tokens, head back to Hala, make sure you're controlling it, and then you'll find an NPC off to the right hand side who will sell you the 2 mounts, and there you go. That's it. Next up, we want to head over to Zangarmarsh, and there we're going to find the faction, the Cenarian Expedition, and at Exalted with that faction we can get the Cenarian War Hippogriff. And this one is just a rinse and repeat of farming dungeons over and over again until you get Exalted, and then you'll be able to purchase the mount. So it's quite a relaxed one, and if you do like grinding dungeons, this one's going to be more for you. To get started with this, what you want to do is head over to the middle of the zone and head into the dungeon section, so the Coilfang Reservoir. You'll head down, and inside there, and you'll find 4 different dungeon and raid entrances. You'll have the one on the far left, which is the slave pens, the one kind of just next to that, which is the steam vaults, the one to the right of that, which is going to be the raid, and then to the far right you're going to find the underbog. So what you'll want to do is run all 3 of the dungeons on heroic difficulty, because that is going to give you a massive amount of experience, so make sure you're killing every single mob you can see in all 3 of those heroic dungeons. Once you're done clearing on heroic, you'll want to head back outside, and then you'll want to either farm the steam vaults or the underbog. The underbog's a little bit more efficient because it's quicker to get out and reset the dungeon again. It's up to you though, you can farm the steam vaults or the underbog, completely down to you. And you will also get another reputation, or items to do another reputation from the underbog. So if you want to kind of double dip, you know, underbog is more efficient that way. Either way, keep farming your preferred dungeon, and eventually you'll get enough reputation to get exalted. Now, one thing to note though, underbog won't get you to exalted, it'll get you very close, it's like 1 rep away. And what you'll need to do is head inside steam vaults and kill a couple of mobs, and that will get you to exalted. But pick your poison, farm your dungeon, and get to exalted. If you do get locked out of your dungeons because you can only do 10 per hour, then you can head over to the Cenarian Refuge, which is over to the east of Zangarmarsh. There'll be a bunch of quests you can do with those guys, and that will also give you reputation, so it's something to do during the down period if you do get locked out of doing dungeons. And then continue your dungeon grind. Once you are done with the reputation, head back over to the Cenarian Refuge, and you'll find a quartermaster there that will sell you the mount. The final destination on our Outland tour is going to be Neverstorm, and from there we're going to be able to get the Ashes of Allah, which is one of the more sought after and kind of pretty looking mounts in the game. So from there we're going to go to the east side of Neverstorm, and you'll find the Tempest Keep set of dungeons and raid. And what we want is the massive structure in the middle called the Eye, and that is going to be the raid that will give us the mount. So you're going to head up there, you're going to head inside, there's no difficulty or raid size, it's just one default setting, so it doesn't matter what you set to, just head inside and you'll be set to the one that you need to be on. And we need to kill the last boss, but luckily we don't need to kill any of the other bosses to get to the last boss. So you can head inside, you can run through the trash or pull it, it's up to you, it doesn't really matter. Head around the left side and go past Allah, and then pick a corridor, either the left or right one, it doesn't matter. But before you go fully down the corridor, you can take either a right or a left, and that will take you to Kel'Thas's room, which is going to be the last boss of the raid. So head inside there, and once you're there, you can kill off the trash in the room if you want to, it doesn't really matter. But what you want to do is pull the boss, and you're going to have to go through a few different steps. So first of all, you'll have to kill all the lieutenants one at a time, go through all of those. They do have some annoying debuffs and effects, like there'll be a stun one that'll stun you every few seconds, there'll be a knockdown one, so just try and get them killed as quickly as possible to avoid the annoying debuffs and effects. The quicker you kill them, the less chance they're actually going to do them to you. As a 120 or even like 110, 100 character, they should instantly die. Once they're all dead, there'll be a bunch of weapons that'll spawn quite a bit later. You have to wait for kind of like the internal timer, so don't worry if nothing's happening. A bunch of weapons will spawn, you'll kill the weapons, and then once again you've got to wait, and then all 4 lieutenants will be resurrected. You'll kill them again as quickly as possible. I would recommend focusing down the engineer, the guy who's in the hunter gear, as that guy is the annoying one with the stun, but they're all kind of annoying in their own way anyway. And then once all 4 of them are dead, then you can start beating on Kel'Thas, who will then also phase change again, which you have to wait for. And then once he's finally dead, it's quite a long fight just due to the annoying mechanics and the timers. But once he's dead, you'll be able to loot him for around a 2% chance of getting Ashes of Allah. And that does bring us to the end of this World of Warcraft Mount Farm tour of Outlands. As I mentioned before, we have covered 2 different continents previously, so if you did miss those, I would recommend checking out the video, because it's very similar to this one where we run through all the different mounts from each of the little sub-areas, and you can figure out what you need to get and what you don't need to get. Either way though, I hope this video was interesting or helpful to you in some way, shape or form. Look out for more videos coming soon. Thanks for watching, guys. See ya.
Then fucking like dungeon and
Apartments.com has the most pet-friendly listings.
Pet-friendly listings.
I just taught him that.
It's so easy to get your windshield replaced using Safelite. Tell the people why you haven't done it already, my man. It started off as a chip and grew into a crack, and it just keeps going. So what do we do now? I went ahead and scheduled an appointment online at Safelite.com. Told them to meet us here at the beach.
Let's get started.
Safelite repair. Safelite replace. Schedule free mobile service at Safelite.com.
Safelite repair, Safelite replace. up to?
The WoW Mount Farm World Tour is back, and this time we're going to be taking a look at the mounts you can get in Northrend, the ones that make sense for the series at least anyway. In the previous episodes we looked at Eastern Kingdoms, Kalimdor and Outland, so if you missed those episodes there will be links in the description below for you to catch up. There is a lot of mounts in those videos, so if you are new to mount collecting I definitely would recommend them. Our first stop is going to be Borean Tundra, and off to the northwest of Borean Tundra we're going to find a massive land called Caldara. You want to head there and we'll find the raid Eye of Eternity there. From Eye of Eternity we have a chance of getting one of two mounts, or both if you're extremely lucky. The first is the Blue Drake, which is on a 2 to 3% drop chance, and also we have the Azure Drake, which is also on a roughly 2 to 3% drop chance. As I mentioned, if you are very lucky you can run the raid once and get both mounts drop at once, but that's extremely unlikely, so good luck with that one.
I like how they're dailies.
To find Eye of Eternity you want to head into the center of Caldara, and there'll be two instances, one at the very bottom, one in the middle, and those are both dungeons, we don't care about those. Instead, make your way to the very top and you'll find the raid entrance, which will take you inside Eye of Eternity. This is very simple for a 120 character, and people kind of 90 to level 100 shouldn't have much issues either. Just DPS down the boss, click the kind of orb in the middle to start the fight. DPS down the boss, and then you'll have these ads spawn. Kill one if you're melee and you don't have many range spells, and a disc will drop. You can jump on the disc and then fly around and kill off all the other mobs, and then you'll be on a Drake, which will be kind of like a vehicle, and you basically just want to click, I think it's button 1 about 3 or 4 times, and then button 2 or 3 which will put a dot on the boss, and then repeat those until it's dead, but it should die pretty much instantly anyway. Once you're done with that, loot the loot, and hopefully you've got a mount. Now, while we're also in the area of Caldara, just below Caldara you'll find an area called Amber Ledge, and if you quest through this area if you've never done it before, and you'll progressively be getting wrapped with the Kirin Tor, and a little bit later on with the Wormrest Accord. And it's actually pretty important that we get through friendly at least with the Wormrest Accord, so I would recommend questing through their quests while you're here. It's a very straightforward quest line, just keep going until you hit friendly, and that will allow us to buy a tabard later on, yes tabard, later on in the video, which will allow you to gain reputation through grinding dungeons. So I would recommend getting it done here, or alternatively you can quest through Dragonblight instead. It's up to you, but either way you do need to get yourself to friendly with the Wormrest Accord. Our next stop on the tour is going to be Dragonblight, and smack bang in the middle of Dragonblight we're going to find the Wormrest Temple. So head there, and you want to head to the lower section which you can find in the massive crack in the ground. Head down there and you'll find the raid Obsidian Sanctum. From Obsidian Sanctum we can get the Black Drake, which is on a 100% drop chance from 10 men, or the Twilight Drake, which is on a 100% drop chance from 25 men. So pick your raid size, the difficulty doesn't matter, normal, heroic, etc. Doesn't make any difference, it's just the raid size that's going to impact which mount you get. So pick the raid size that you want, and this should be soloable for any character above level 100, so you could do 10 man on one character, bring in an ult and do 25 man on that character, or you can wait for the raid to reset next week and come in and get the mount that you're missing. So head inside, and the main thing you need to know is to not kill the 3 Twilight Drakes around the room. There'll be one to the left, one in the center, one to the right. Do not pull and kill those before you pull the main boss in the middle. If you do that, you'll basically prevent yourself from having any chance of getting the mount. They need to all be alive when the boss dies, or at least when the boss is aggroed, I should say. The trash you can kill off if you want to, there's not really much reason to, but if you're struggling you can kill off the trash before you pull the boss, because it will all aggro. So pull the boss, deal with the trash whichever way you want, and then once the boss has been killed there'll be a chest in the middle, and that will guaranteed give you the Drake as long as you've left the Twilight Drakes around the room alive before you pull the boss. So now that we're done with Obsidian Sanctum, we're going to head outside back to the Wormrest Temple, and you're going to fly to the very top floor of the Wormrest Temple. There, as long as you've got friendly with the Wormrest Accord, which I was talking about earlier, you'll be able to speak to the Quartermaster and buy the tabard. With the tabard we'll be able to grind dungeons in Northrend to gain reputation, and then that reputation will allow us to purchase the Red Drake from the vendor once we hit Exalted, and that's a quite easy Drake to get. What I would recommend doing is you want to do all of the dungeons on Heroic in Northrend first, because that's going to give you a massive jump in reputation, and you could do that every day if you wanted to and you'll progressively get there, or you could do them all on Heroic, and then once you've got your burst of reputation from Heroic, I would recommend then farming Halls of Lightning on Normal. It's the most efficient dungeon to farm on Normal to get your reputation up, so it's up to you how you want to go about it. but that's the method I would recommend to get yourself to Exalted with the Wormrest Accord and purchase yourself the Red Drake. So now that we're done in Dragonblight, our next stop is going to be Howling Fjord, and there you'll find the area or the section called Upgard Keep, pretty much in the middle, you can't really miss it. So you want to head over there, and you want to head to kind of the north side of this where you'll find the entrance to Upgard Pinnacle. You want to make sure you are on Heroic for dungeon difficulty, and then head inside. From this dungeon, we're going to be able to get the Drake, the Blue Proto Drake. It's on roughly a 1% drop chance, and that's going to come from the third boss of the dungeon. It's a pretty quick run to do, luckily, so you're not going to be wasting too much time here. So run inside. If you are wearing the Wormrest Accord tabard, then I would recommend throwing that on and killing all of the stuff in between. But if you're not, then you want to be efficient and quick, and you can skip most of the stuff. You can actually skip the first 2 bosses. So we're going to run through the dungeon, we're going to skip the first and second boss, and then we're going to head over to the third boss. Once you're at the third boss, Skadi the Ruthless, you kind of want to run down the runway right to the end where the harpoons are, and you want to be killing off the mobs with harpoon in their name. Once they die, they will drop a harpoon on the ground, and then once Skadi is in front of the harpoon guns with his Proto Drake, you can click the harpoons, those will fire, and they'll do about 33% damage to him, so it will take 3 to knock him out of the sky. Once you've knocked him out of the sky, you'll be able to finish the fight and loot his corpse for roughly a 1% drop chance for the Blue Proto Drake. Once we're done...
Fancy horse. Fancy gum. Icebreakers. Ooh, fancy.
Oh, I just went down the hill.
Done here, we are fully done with Howling Fjord, so what I would actually recommend doing is Herfin, or whatever method you've got of quickly getting yourself back to Stormwind or Orgrimmar. The reason for that is there is the portal room now, and in the portal room there will be a portal to Dalaran in Crystal Song Forest, which is actually going to be our next destination. So it's going to get you there a bit faster, but if you want to fly or whatever, then head your way over to Crystal Song Forest. Once we're at Dalaran, there's going to be a mount vendor just in front of like the pet section, and this vendor will sell us 4 different mounts. One of them's different for Horde and Alliance, we'll get to that in a moment. But the first is going to be the Armored Brown Bear, which is 750 gold. Next is the Woolly Mammoth, which is 10,000 gold. And we've got the Traveler's Tundra Mammoth, which is 20,000 gold. And this is a mount that has a mount vendor and also a repair vendor on it. So if you're after a very cheaper repair mount, this is definitely one worth picking up. Then we have for the Horde Blue Windrider mount. And then for the Alliance, we have the Armored Snowy Griffin. And that's both of those are 2,000 gold. And the price of these mounts does come down if you have reputation with the Kirin Tor. So if you have an old character or whatever that is exalted with Kirin Tor, it is worth logging on that character just so you get a little bit of a discount. Now that we're done in Dalaran, our next destination is going to be Wintergrass. We're going to head over there. Now the tricky part about this zone is your faction needs to be in control of the zone for us to do what we need to do. And to get control back, you either need to wait for the battle to start and then take part and basically take control. It's normally you versus like 1 or 2 other people, but it is a bit of a pain to win. Or you can just wait for someone to go and do it for you and eventually your faction will be in control. But there's been times where it's been days until my faction has actually gotten it. Either way though, once your faction has control, head to the main kind of building just kind of northish of the area. And outside of the main gates will be a PvP vendor. And they will sell you the Black War Mammoth for 15 marks of honor. So do make sure you've got some marks of honor hanging around. If you don't want to buy that or you've not got the marks to buy it right now, then head inside and we'll be able to enter the raid, the Vault of Archivon, and killing each of the bosses here will have around a 0.5 to 1% drop chance for the Grand Black War Mammoth. So it is worth killing all 4 bosses because each of those are going to have roughly a 1% chance of giving them out. So fairly good odds honestly, having 4 chances per week per character at getting the mount. Eventually you will get it dropped. Next up we're going to head over to Sholazar Basin, and from there we can go through a quest chain which will lead on to dailies, which eventually when you hit Revered with that faction, you'll be able to purchase the Mysterious Egg, and from that egg you'll have roughly a 5 to 6% chance of getting the Green Proto Drake. So this is going to be fairly lengthy. The initial quest chain is going to be about 40 minutes of your time, so do make sure you are ready for this grind. So with that in mind, our first destination is going to be River's Heart, which is pretty much smack bang in the middle of the zone, and there you'll find an NPC called Tamara. Speak to Tamara and they'll give you the quest Part-Time Hunter, which will be to kill a named mob. You'll fly over, you'll kill the mob, and then once the mob is dead, you'll then have these NPCs stood in front of the mob's corpse being angry at you for stealing their kill, and they'll demand you to help them for basically repayment. So pick up the quest with them and go aid them. You don't have to turn in part-time hunter anymore if you don't want to. Just make sure you are assisting the puppy men with their quest chains and their general stuff, and continue through that chain with them. Now, one thing to keep in mind for these quests, quite a lot of them with the puppy men and then later on with the oracles, which is the second section of this kind of quest chain, you'll have a side NPC that will run along with you, and they'll give you quests throughout the quest chain. Sometimes the NPC goes AWOL and you won't see them anymore, and you won't have the item in your bag to resummon them. If this happens, head back to the little camp, the little base, and there'll be an NPC. It'll always be the same NPC for the puppy men, and then there'll be a different one for the oracles. Speaking to them will allow you to get back the item to summon the NPC that's gone AWOL, so do make sure you have that item. It's probably worth getting it before you head out on the quest, because for some reason it just doesn't get given to you initially. So speak to the NPC, get the summon item, and then head on your way, and that way you don't have to fly back and forth and resummon the NPC every time, because it does get quite annoying. So head through that quest chain. There isn't really anything special you need to know, just keep following the quests. And eventually you'll be at a part where you need to kill like a floaty skeleton boy. I can't remember the name of the mob type, but he's like he looks like Kel'Thuzad. You know, he's floaty, he's all skeleton boy. What I would recommend doing for this part is using the soft foam sword, which is a toy, as this will bring the mob's HP low, but it won't kill it. And when this happens, there'll be two little NPCs in ice cubes, they'll break free, and you'll want to kill the puppy man. You'll kill him, keep the oracle guy alive, because that's the faction that we need, kill the puppy man, and then once you're done with that, you'll have a quest to speak to the little oracle guy that you rescued, and when you speak to him, you'll then be friendly with that faction, but hated by the puppy man faction, which is completely okay. Once you're done with that, you'll head back to the oracle's base, and you'll have daily quests to do with them, and you just need to keep doing the daily quests until you hit revered. When you hit revered, you can purchase the mysterious egg, which after a few days will hatch. You'll open the egg, you'll have about a 5-6% chance of getting the proto drake, and then keep repeating that until you do eventually get the proto drake. So good luck. Once you're done with the initial quest chain and your dailies, the next stop for us is going to be Icecrown, and the first place there is going to be Icecrown Citadel. We're going to run this raid on 25-man heroic, and from the last boss, the Lich King, we're going to have about a 1% chance of getting the mount invincible. Pretty damn sought after mount, and one that I'm still sorting after, unfortunately. So get yourself there. Now this is a little bit difficult for characters that are level 100 still. It can be done, but it is going to be a bit trickier. So I would recommend if you are struggling to come back on a 110 character or above, and that will make it fairly trivial. So run through the raid. It's fairly linear for the most part. There'll be a section after the Sarfang boss where you have 3 different wings to clear. Just run through them all, go through Plague and then Blood and then Frost. And once you're done with all 3 wings, teleport back to the center where you can access the wings. And there'll be this kind of section in the middle that you'll run to. That'll teleport you to the Frozen Throne, where you can face off against the Lich King. To activate the fight, talk to Tyrion, you'll have to go through some RP and then kill him down. The main thing you need to worry about is a thing called, God, I can't remember, they're called some shadow traps, I think the name is actually. As these will be placed on the ground, it'll be like a purplish circle, and if you touch it, it'll explode, knocking you flying backwards. So either avoid those, or make sure your character's face towards the throne, so that you won't get knocked off the platform, but realistically just kill him down before they even happen, and that'll be no problem. Once the boss is dead, you can loot him for the mount, or potentially loot him for the mount. While we're also here, you could be doing the achievements for the 25-man Icecrown Citadel Raider achievement series, Glory of the Icecrown Raider, and that will give you the Icebound Frostbrood Vanquisher, I think it's called. Most of the achievements are fairly straightforward. There's one that you may struggle with as like a warrior, because it requires you to heal a boss. But you can get by that fairly easily by buying the bandage gun and also bandages from the auction house. If you buy the higher tier ones, you'll be able to do that no problem. And then the other achievement that's kind of tricky is the one that's for Lich King himself. I think I've been waiting a long time for this, as it requires you to basically have another thing present, otherwise it won't work. So you need either a trinket that can summon a pet, or you need to have a pet or a totem, like a statue as a Brewmaster Monk. Either way, you need to have some other thing present that can count as like a second player, otherwise you won't be able to do that achievement. So do keep that in mind. Those are a little bit more trickier, but you can run through that on 25-man, get the Icebound Frostbrood Vanquisher, and then if you're eventually done with Invincible, you get that. You could also run the raid on 10-man, and get the 10-man version done as well, which is like the same mount but like a reddish tint, and that'll be another mount to your collection as well. Next up in Icecrown is going to be the Argent Tournament, and if you like dailies, then this you're gonna absolutely love the Argent Tournament because there's dailies for days. But there's also quite a lot of mounts you can get from this. You're gonna get about 14 to 15 mounts depending on your class. So quite a few mounts. Most of them are faction recolors. There's going to be like a white skeletal warhorse, for example.
I bet you died.
But there is still quite a lot of mounts that you can bolster up your mount collection with. And there's some decent ones as well, some neutral ones like the Argent Hippogriff for you to get. So to get started with this, we're going to head over to the Argent Tournament, which is in like the top corner of Icecrown. And there, just off to the west of the Argent Tournament, you'll find the Argent Pavilion, which is a big tent. Inside there, the first NPC you'll see will give you the quest called the Argent Tournament. That'll send you over to your faction tent. You'll go through a quest chain and you'll be asked to get 15 aspirant seals just after you kind of train to be a beginning kind of jouster or whatever. 15 seals will take you about 3 days to get. Once you're done with that, then you'll champion a faction and you'll have to get 25 Valiant seals, and then you'll champion another faction. You'll get another 25 Valiant seals, and I think you get like 5 or so a day. So that's going to take you quite a while. Then once you've championed all the factions, you become like a Grand Champion, which will then allow you to unlock even more dailies. And you'll find those dailies in your faction tent and over at the Argent Pavilion. And you'll have an option on some of these daily quests to get a Champion's Purse. If you have that option, pick it every single time, because that's going to give you a Champion Seal, and Champion Seals are the currency to buy some of the mounts. So you definitely want to get as many Champion Seals as possible by picking the Champion's Purses and doing the dailies over and over again. On top of that, you can get yourself a few extra Champion Seals by doing the dungeon here on Heroic every day. I think that's going to give you an additional 4, but basically just keep coming back, doing all the dailies you've got, repeating that until you have all the dailies unlocked, and then keep coming back until you have all the mounts. It's going to take a very long time. I think it takes like 50 days or something of doing all the dailies, or maybe even more than that, maybe like 6, I don't remember. I've been doing it for a long time to get all of the mounts. That's all I know, and I'm sick of seeing the Argent Tournament. But have fun if you do like dailies or you want to bolster your mount collection.
To go with them.
Now that we're done with Icecrown, we're going to be heading on to our final destination, which is going to be Storm Peaks on our Northrend tour. And our first place in Storm Peaks is going to be Ulduar, which is a raid you'll find kind of north of the zone. You want to head over there, and from the last boss in this raid on No Lights, we're going to get the Mimiron's head. It's on about a 1% drop chance from the last boss, Yogg-Saron. While we're also here, we could do the Ulduar Achievement Raider series, which is going to award you 2 mounts for doing it. It's going to give you the Rusted Proto-Drake and the Ironbound Proto-Drake. Both look pretty good. Now, most of these achievements for this achievement series are fairly straightforward. You could literally read the achievement and have a pretty good grasp of what you need to do. The only achievement that's a little bit of a struggle is the Iron Dwarf Medium Rare. So what I'll do is link a video explaining that achievement specifically in the description below if you do want to try it, as that makes it a pretty foolproof method for a level 120 character. So you want to head through the raid, and as I said, if you're doing the achievements, just do the achievements. If not, we're going to rush our way to Yogg-Saron. Do that by basically running in a straight line. There's a lot of bosses in here you can skip. The only bosses we need to kill is XT Deconstructor, we need to kill Cologran, you kind of need to kill Araya, which is the cat leader. And you definitely need to kill Freya, Hodir, Mimiron, and Thorim. So what I would recommend doing is once you get to this section, kill off the cat leader, go kill off Hodir and Thorim, then do Freya, and then you'll be able to use the teleporter outside of Freya's room to teleport directly to Mimiron's room. Speeds it up a lot. Kill Mimiron, teleport back to the kind of Keeper section, and then head over to the Descent into Madness, which is the room to the left of Mimiron's. Head down there, and then you'll need to kill General Vizax, and then finally you'll need to kill Yogg-Saron. Now, when you defeat the 4 Guardians, Freya, Hodir, Mimiron, and Thorim, they'll appear up in the middle, the main section, and you can talk to them. Do not talk to them. Do not do it. Because if you do that, you'll ruin your chance of getting the mount. They all need to be kind of inactive, and if you talk to them, they become activated. So once they're defeated, just don't interact with them at all, and you'll be good to go. Head over, kill Yogg-Saron. There's nothing really you need to know about this fight. They've made it very simple to solo now. At one point it was kind of difficult, but just stand on top of the main NPC in the middle, Sarah. These weird monsters will come, you'll kill them on top of her, they'll explode. You'll move into phase 2, you'll kill the tentacles around the room until portals spawn, click the portal, and then kill the brain, or run around and kill the ads in the room, and then the brain room will unlock. Kill the brain, don't look at the little eyes, because they'll drain your sanity, and then once you kill the brain, you'll be teleported out, and you can finally kill Yogg-Saron, and then you'll have around a 1% chance of getting the mount. And with that, we're done with Yogg-Saron, and you'll have obviously your chance at the mount, and then you can be progressing towards the achievement series for this raid as well, which, as I said, I would recommend doing. Even if you don't get it all done in 1 week because you fail one, you're going to be coming back for the mount anyway, so you can just be progressively working towards it. And as I said, most of them are very, very straightforward, like literally just kill mobs in a certain order or kill it in a certain time. You'll get most of them done very, very easy, I guarantee it. So with us done with Ulduar, we're going to head outside, and this is where you can also find Halls of Lightning. Halls of Lightning is useful for us for 2 reasons. First of all, it'll be the place you can farm reputation for the Wormrest Accord, so keep that in mind. And it's also a great place to farm Relics of Ulduar, and Relics of Ulduar are going to be a currency we need for another faction in Storm Peaks. So if you don't want to buy them from the auction house, then Halls of Lightning is going to be your best bet for grinding them out. So do keep Halls of Lightning in mind while you're here. The next destination is going to be pretty much Storm Peaks itself, as we're going after a rare spawn that will drop the Time Lost Proto Drake, and that rare is the Time Lost Proto Drake. Now it flies around most of the zone, but it has 4 different paths it can spawn at and take. So it's up to you how you want to go about this, but Time Lost Proto Drake is basically a rare spawn of a rare spawn. Either the Time Lost Proto Drake can spawn very rarely, or instead Viragosa will spawn, and if you see that spawn, then you know Time Lost Proto Drake won't spawn for quite a while. So the best bet is what I did to farm this, was I sit at a spot just below the Temple of Storms, where most of the paths kind of overline, and I'll have a map up now showing you the different paths that the Time Lost Proto Drake can spawn at and take. So there's 4 different paths, and if you stay near the Temple of Storms, you pretty much get an overlap of 3 of the paths. So what I would do was, I would sit where the overlap is, and then every once in a while I would go and fly around the other path that isn't overlap, and then I'd go back and sit at this kind of spot as well. Alternatively, you could sit at his spawn locations instead, and that will give you, direct access to when he spawns, you'll get him instantly. That's what some other people do too, so if there are other people camping the spawn spots, then you're not going to see him fly around because he'll instantly be killed. So it's up to you how you want to go about it. You can pick one spawn spot and sit at it, or you can try and greed a little bit and sit at the overlap and do it that way. Either way, this one is going to take you quite a while to get unless you get extremely lucky, so just pick whichever approach you feel more comfortable with, and then go about it, and good luck. Now for the final couple of mounts, and this is kind of going to be a 2-for-1 because you'll do 1 quest chain, and that will unlock 2 different kind of factions to get a mount from. So to get this started, we're going to head over to K3, and there will be an NPC called Gretchen Fizzlespark who will start the quest They Took Our Men, and you basically want to pick up that quest and follow the quest chain, and eventually it will lead on to you helping the Hildene, I think they're called. Big blue women, you can't miss them. You'll help those, and eventually once you're done with their quest line, you'll unlock daily quests. Now these daily quests are quite buggy of recent, and you may not see them there. So what you need to do to fix this is either switch over to war mode or off war mode to change your phase and go back and see if you've got quests. If not, you need to get some people to invite you to another group so you can change layers and check again. But either way, you just need to keep jumping phases until you do see the world quest, or the daily quest I should say, as it does bug out fairly often. You could go there and you'll only have 1 quest instead of 2, so do keep that in mind, it is a little bit weird. But doing these daily quests will give you a bag, and from that bag you'll have the Hildene spoils, and inside the bag you'll have a 3% chance of getting the white polar bear mount. So once you're done with that, you'll continue the quest chain and you'll be sent up to like a temple. You'll find Thorim up there and he'll talk about how he wants to like reconnect with his people, and then you'll be sent off to help the Sons of Hodir. And these are big giants in the kind of other side of the zone. Now the quest is once again fairly straightforward, but there is a point where you'll be killing these like fire elementals, and you need to be making sure you're looting everything, because one of the NPCs there will drop an item, and that is a continuation of the quest. It's like a quest item. So do make sure while you're following the quest chain you are looting everything, as you don't want to miss this very important quest item. Continue with the chain, and then eventually you'll be neutral with the Sons of Hodir, When you're at that point, you can then start handing in the Relics of Ulduar, which I was talking about earlier. And then once you hit Exalted, and I think also Revered, I'm not too sure if the Ice Mammoth is Revered or Exalted, either way. Grind in these Relics of Ulduar, you'll be able to buy the Ice Mammoth for 1,000 gold, and the Grand Ice Mammoth for 10,000 gold. And as mentioned earlier, the best place of farming the Relics of Ulduar is either the Auction House or Halls of Lightning. So get your rep up with those, buy those mounts, and then that is us done. That is the end of the Northrend tour. And I apologize for this one. I am feeling a little bit ill, so I've tried my best to be the normal kind of commentator for these videos, but give me a little bit of slack on this one as I am coming down with the old winter cold. Either way, hopefully you enjoyed the video. Look out for more videos coming soon. Thanks for watching, guys. See ya. The World of Warcraft Mount Farm World Tour is back again with episode number 5, and if you did miss the previous 4 episodes, there will be a playlist link in the description down below. If you are newer to mount collecting, I would recommend checking them out, as that's a lot of mounts to add to your collection. In this episode, we're going to be covering the plethora of mounts found in the beautiful continent of Pandaria, but speaking of beautiful content, this video is sponsored by Black Desert Online. Black Desert Online is a buy-to-play MMORPG with no monthly sub cost. You just buy it once and you'll get all future updates for free, and the game looks visually amazing. It's one of the best looking MMOs, and they somehow made it look better with the recent remastered version. The game also added its 19th class, which is Guardians, kind of like a berserker lady with a axe and a shield, charging around, knocking things over, smashing the ground, rocks flying everywhere. It was actually a ton of fun. I jumped in and played a bit of it and, you know, really enjoyed it. But if it's not your style, there are 18 other classes to choose from, such as Ranger, Ninja, Wizard, or Striker. The combat is really fun. It's kind of like combo style. The game is a sandbox MMO, so it's basically just a world you can get yourself lost into and immersed into. It's how you want to play, basically. If you want to focus on professions and trading, or grinding mobs and combat, it's up to you really. And the game also has a really nice character creation. There's a ton of customization available, and you're probably going to spend hours on that alone. So if the game sounds interesting, there is a link to a 7-day trial in the description below, and I would recommend checking it out because you'll have a ton of content to do, and it'll definitely fill the gap while we've not got a whole lot to do in WoW until we wait for Shadowlands. Our first stop is going to be the Isle of Giants, which we're going to find way north of Pandaria. Past Kunlai, you'll find a little island on its own called the Isle of Giants. Now head out there, and even though this island's small, we're going to get quite a few mounts from it, so it's definitely worth your time. So once you head out there, the first thing you want to start doing is just murdering all of the dinosaurs in sight. Just run around the island. It's a nice kind of circle shape, so it's quite easy to navigate around. And just run around in a circle killing any dinosaurs you see. Loot the dinosaurs as you go, and you'll be getting these bones from them. These bones are important because with 9,999 of them, you can hand them in for a bone white primal raptor guaranteed. So you want to gather as many bones as possible. Now it is also worth noting these bones can be bought and sold as well. So you could go and buy them off the auction house to save yourself some time, obviously at the expense of gold. Or alternatively, you could be the one selling them. You could grind out 9,999 and advertise that you're selling the white primal raptor, and someone out there will probably pay a good amount of gold because they're saving time. So it's up to you how you want to do it, but either way you do need to get 9,999 of them. So once you've got your 9,999, there'll be a cave on the left side of the island, and inside there will be a troll called Kuma, and he'll have 4 quests for you. The one called a Mountain of Giant Dinosaur Bones is the one that we want. Handing that in will give you the mount for the bones. Now, while you're grinding the bones from the dinosaurs, you'll also have a chance of getting a primal egg. I think it takes like 3 days to hatch. From the egg, you'll get a guaranteed mount. It might be a little bit longer than 3 days, but it doesn't matter. Either way, it takes a few days to hatch. And it'll guaranteed hatch into either the black primal raptor, the green primal raptor, or the red primal raptor. But the primal egg is a unique item, so once you get one of them, you won't be able to get any more on that character until it hatches. So what I would recommend doing is going out and getting your primal egg, getting some bones, and once you're done with the primal egg, or once you've got one, bring in an alt to start farming the bones instead, and that way you're going to be stacking up multiple primal eggs across multiple characters instead of them going to waste, and then those bones can be sent over to your main character. So you're just being a bit more efficient with it. But after a few days, the egg will hatch and you'll get one of the 3 mounts. Now you can get duplicates. You could get 3 eggs, and all of them are the green primal raptor. You could get unlucky, or you could get lucky and it's all unique ones. You'll just have to keep doing it until you do get all the eggs, or all the mounts from the eggs. The final mount we're going to be able to get from this place is the Cobalt Primal Direhorn, and that is going to come from the world boss who's sat in the middle of the Isle of Giants. It spawns every, I think it's 15-20 minutes, and that is called Undasta. So you want to kill that, and just from killing it, you can kill it once per week per character, you'll have a chance of getting the Cobalt Primal Direhorn. Now, one thing to note, it's quite important actually, is that the world bosses of Pandaria, there's 4 of them, all these 4 world bosses can actually be bonus rolled for the chance at the mount. Now this is very unique, you can't do this with future expansion world bosses, it is very unique to just Pandaria. So what you'll want to do is get yourself the bonus roll currency. What I would recommend for that is heading over to a place called the Timeless Isle, which we'll talk about in more detail later on. But there's an area in the Timeless Isle off to the right hand side where you'll find these gulp frogs. Kill the gulp frogs and you'll be getting 2 different types of currency. These lesser coins of good fortune, I think they're called, and these time lost coins.
181.
It takes 1,000 time lost coins to get a Mogu coin. You'll need a Mogu coin for Undasta and Melak. And then it takes 20 lesser charms to get a greater charm of good fortune. And you'll need that for the Shower of Anger and for Galleon. So just keep farming the frogs. You can buy the Mogu coins from the Timeless Isle vendors kind of in the middle, and you can buy the greater charms from Townlong Steps. And I'll have a map showing both of these places right now anyway, so I don't have to explain too well. Head out there once you've found a good amount of the Timeless coins and the lesser charms, and buy up to 20 coins per character of each, and then use those on the world bosses, and you're going to be getting 2 chances per character per week, so it's really worth doing. Now that we're done on the Isle of Giants, our next destination is going to be Kunlai Summit, and our first stop there is going to be the Mogushan Terrace. So get over there and you'll find the entrance to Mogushan Vaults. From the 5th boss in Mogushan Vaults, we'll be able to get, or have a chance at least, of getting the Astral Cloud Serpent, which is a really nice looking mount, and this is on roughly a 1% drop chance. Now, Wowhead data does seem to believe that Heroic 25-man and Normal 25-man do have a slightly higher chance of dropping the mount. Data like that can be skewed though, and generally these mounts are just 1%, but there is no harm in running this on 25-man, especially if you are a 120 character, you'll have no problem doing it. So if you want to believe the potentially higher chance, then it is worth doing it on Heroic 25. Head inside and head to the first boss, nothing you really need to know there. The only thing you really need to know is just after the first boss there'll be these Mogu statues, and you need to run right on top of them to get them to aggro, otherwise they'll never activate. And then the same thing with the next 5 pack of these mobs. Then you can kill down the next boss, and then you'll head into the next room where you'll fight a bunch of trolls. You need to kill every single troll in this area to activate the boss. Then you'll move into the next section, you'll be able to speak to Cho. Cho will activate the next set of trash, then you'll be able to kill the next boss. And then you'll head into the lowest section where we'll finally meet Elegon. You'll have to kill out all the trash again, speak to Cho once more, and then the boss Elegon will activate and you'll be able to kill that. As I said, a rough 1% chance of getting the mount. Once you get yourself out of Mogushan Vaults, you'll want to fly over to One Keg, and just to the left of One Keg we'll find kind of like a Shar infested patch on the ground, and this is where the world boss, the Shower of Anger, can spawn. It's on about a 15-minute respawn timer for when it's killed, and killing this world boss will give you roughly a 0.03% chance of getting the Heavenly Onyx Cloud Serpent. This mount looks amazing, it's probably one of my favourite mounts in the game, and one that I don't have and not many people do. It's extremely rare as noted by the drop chance. It is worth noting though, like all the other world bosses in Pandaria, you can use a greater charm of good fortune to have an additional chance at the mount from Shower of Anger. It is on a 1-week lockout because it is a world boss, so throw as many characters at it per week as possible with as many greater charms as good fortune, just so you have as best a chance of getting the mount as possible, because it is going to take a lot of attempts. I do also realise I didn't talk about the Undasta drop chance for the Cobalt Primal Direhorn. That is on about a roughly 0.08%. That's based on data, so it could be closer to the Onyx Cloud Serpent, but either way both are on an extremely low drop chance. Once you're done probably being disappointed by the Shower of Anger, this time we're going to head to the right of One Keg, and we're going to find this little village with yaks and stuff like that, and we'll find a vendor there called Uncle Big Pocket, and that vendor will sell us 3 yak mounts. 2 of them are 3,000 gold each, and then you have the Grand Expedition yak, which is going to cost 120,000 gold. Now the cool thing about this mount is it is a repair and also a transmog vendor, so it does have some functionality to it, but it is obviously quite pricey. but the 3k gold yaks are easily purchasable. I mean, 3k gold isn't very much, and there's no prerequisites to be able to buy stuff from this vendor. You can just head out there, buy them up, and have more mounts in your collection. Before we leave Kunlai Summit, there is one last thing for us to do, and that is to check for the Zandalari Warbringers and the Zandalari War Scouts. The War Scouts will walk around a little bit, and killing those will give you 1,000 reputation tokens for some of the Pandaria factions, very useful for later on in the video. And the Warbringers can also give those reputation tokens, but they also have about a 4 to 5% chance of giving either a Jade, Amber or Slate Direhorn. Now the mount that they can give is directly related to the mount that they're riding on. So if the Warbringer is on a Slate Direhorn, then the only mount it can drop is a Slate Direhorn. So do keep that in mind while looking, and you can find these Warbringers and War Scouts in Kunlai Summit, the Jade Forest, Krasarang Wilds, Red Wastes and Townlong Steppes. So they're going to be all around Pandaria, so do keep that in mind while we're going through the video. There will be a map up now showing you the various spawn locations and the War Scout paths roughly, so you will have to look around those areas. Now I would recommend, if you are farming these specifically, is to make some clash trials on some really low populated RP realms, because there you're going to have way less competition on standard realms, and even better if you go into war mode. I can generally fly around those realms and get myself a few Warbringers or War Scouts, so just a little tip there just to help you out on those mobs specifically. The next stop on our world tour is going to be the Vale of the Eternal Blossoms, and the first thing up here is going to be the faction Golden Lotus. Once you get this faction to Exalted, you'll be able to purchase 3 crane mounts, and these mounts will cost you about 4,000 gold to buy them all, so it's not too bad, and they're okay mounts. I don't really particularly like them, but some people definitely do. So to get this started, you'll want to head to your main city in the Vale, and on the lower section you'll find the Golden Lotus Quartermaster. Now this guy is useful for 3 reasons. First of all, he'll give you a quest that will breadcrumb into the daily quests for the Golden Lotus. They're not too bad reputation, but it's up to you if you really want to do them once we go through the other methods. He'll also sell you the mount, which obviously is the main reason we want him. And the final reason is at Revered, he'll sell you an item that will double your reputation gains all the way to Exalted. So it's going to make Revered to Exalted a lot faster, and 100% faster. You're going to be getting the double rep from there to Exalted, so definitely worth picking this up. And most of the factions have this item that you can buy. Some of the later ones introduced don't, but the vast majority of the Pandaria factions do. So it's definitely worth keeping an eye on the Quartermasters for the various factions, just so you can speed up your reputation gains. So what we're going to do to get rep for this faction is 1 is the daily quests, 2 is the Warbringers and the War Scouts giving you those 1,000 rep tokens. The best method is the Mogu in the Vale. Killing those will give you about 20 rep a kill, 10-20 rep, either way it's still a good amount, and there's a ton of them. You can be killing loads of them, running around the zone, murdering them all off, and killing them will also give you a chance of getting a key. That key can be taken into the Gaolai Halls, I think it is, and right at the back of the Gaolai Halls will be a bunch of chests that you can open. Once you open those chests, you have a chance of getting, I think it's 250 and 500 reputation tokens, which can then be used to further increase your rep with the Golden Lotus. So the rep faction is probably one of the quickest ones to do in Pandaria. Bunch of methods to get rep, so it's really good. And the great thing about this is killing the Mogu in the Vale will also give you a chance of getting a Sky Shard. A Sky Shard is an item that can drop from any mob in the Vale, but once you get 10 of them, you'll be able to combine them together and kill Alani. Alani is a big red dragon flying around the zone. It does have a respawn timer, but once you kill that dragon, you'll be awarded with the Thundering Ruby Cloud Serpent, which is a BOE mount, so you could sell it if you wanted to. That's going to be another mount you can be getting, so you're double dipping, which is really nice. Now one thing to note, in 8.3 there's going to be new mobs that are in the Vale that are like level 120. So far on the PTR, these mobs drop Sky Shards, so that's going to mean Sky Shards are going to be a lot more common to get because more people are going to be in the zone again. And also the price on the Thundering Ruby Cloud Serpent might go down because of this. So one thing to keep in mind if you are looking to buy one or you're looking to sell them. Next up in the Vale we have the August Celestials faction, and getting that to Exalted will allow you to purchase the Thundering August Cloud Serpent. And like the Golden Lotus, once you hit Revered you can buy an item that will double your reputation gains up to Exalted, so that's good. But unfortunately, unlike the Golden Lotus, there isn't any mob like the Mogu that you can just grind over and over again for raw reputation. Now you can still kill the Warbringers and the War Scouts for those 1000 rep tokens, So do keep that in mind, as that's probably going to be your best bet of reputation outside of time walking. And unfortunately, time walking only comes around once in a blue moon. And I think by the time this video goes live, time walking would have just left, which is unfortunate. But we'll talk more about time walking later in the video. So your other method of gaining reputation is going to be through daily quests. So you'll want to head to your main hub in the Vale again, and in the lower section you'll find the August Celestial's kind of quartermaster / representative. It'll have a quest sending you to one of the temples, either the ox, the tiger, the crane, or the dragon, and you'll go and do daily quests there and you'll get a chunk of reputation. Now if for whatever reason it isn't giving you a quest, there are still some kind of phasing issues with one of the quest lines, and that is for the tiger temple, the white tiger. To fix that, what you'll want to do is go and quest at the temple in Kunlai's Summit. There's a quest chain up there that will unlock the temple fuller, and that should give you access to the dailies there too. So if you are experiencing that problem, that's probably what the issue is. Next in the Vale is going to be the faction Lore Walkers, and getting that to Exalted will give you the mount the Disc of the Red Flying Cloud. And getting this reputation to Exalted is quite unique. It does require you to go around multiple different zones, but it's different compared to a lot of reps, and honestly I wish they'd do more stuff like this. So the way you get to Exalted is by finding these lore scrolls in the world in Pandaria, and these will give you progression towards a bunch of different exploration achievements. Each achievement you complete, you'll get an item in the mail which will be a quest. That quest will send you to the top of Mogushan Palace in Vale, and you'll hand that quest in for a chunk of reputation. Like Golden Lotus and August Celestials, there'll also be an item there from the Quartermaster in above Mogushan Palace that you can buy that will increase your reputation gains from Revered to Exalted, so definitely worth picking that up as well, just to make sure you do snugly get from Revered to Exalted. And to make this a bit easier, in the description below will be a link to an add-on called TomTom, a link to an add-on called Paste, and then a big list of coordinates. Get those two add-ons installed, log into the game, open Paste, copy all of those coordinates, plop them into Paste, and then click Paste and Close. And what will happen is all of those coordinates will be added to TomTom. There'll be a bunch of dots on your map, and then you'll be able to use that map to basically find all the different lore scrolls and do that while you're doing the other mounts in this guide. So definitely have that going so you know where they all are as you're progressing through the video. Now, once you do get to Revered, you want to head back up, or you could do them all and then head back to the Vale. It doesn't really matter because they're items that you'll hand in for rep. Head to the top of Mogushan Palace, hand in the quests one at a time, get your item that will increase your rep at Revered. And one thing that will speed things up a little bit is every time you hand in one of the quests, run out of the room, and that will stop the RP, and then you can hand in the next quest. And keep doing that until you get to Exalted. The final mount in the Vale is going to be the Corcoran Juggernaut, which has about a 1% chance of dropping from Garrosh Hellscream on Mythic in Siege of Orgrimmar. To get inside Siege of Orgrimmar, you'll want to go just south of Mogushan Palace, where the kind of corrupted well is. Head inside the raid there, and just basically start clearing through the bosses. Now the second boss, if you kill it too quick, it will bug out and kind of break. So what I would recommend doing is slowly DPSing one down by about 30-40%, and then let it do its transition, and then repeat that to the other two, and then repeat that on the first one, and then to the other two again, and eventually you'll have them low enough that you can just kill them. They both have 2 sets of transitions, so you want to make sure you've gone through the 6 transitions before you kill the bosses. Then you'll head through the next 2 or 3 bosses. There's nothing really too special to be said there. Galakraz, you just want to clear the tower, make sure the goblins or gnomes are protected, and then shoot down Galakraz with the one cannon. You don't need both. Shoot down Galakraz, and then you can move on to the next boss. Then you'll be on the Iron Juggernaut, nothing special there. Same with the Shamans, same with General Nazgrim, same with Malkarok, I think he's called, whatever his name is, big scary orc dude. And then you'll move on to this hall, where you'll go left or right. You want to take the right side, you'll head into Treasures of Pandaria, you'll clear out all the boxes on one side, and then you'll click the lever, you'll use the hook, head over to the other side, clear out all the boxes again and the mobs inside them. Click the lever again, and then you'll rinse and repeat that for the final 2 rooms. Same again, nothing to be said about Thark and Blackfuse, fairly straightforward fights. Paragons can bug out if you kill them too fast, so do slow down, let the 3 bugs land, like once you kill one, let it land and fully be around, and then slowly DPS it down a little bit, and repeat that until they're all landed and they're all dead. And then head on to Garrosh, which once again, fairly straightforward fight, nothing special to be said there. And then once you kill Garrosh, you'll have about a 1% chance of getting the mount. Now there is also the glory of the Siege of Orgrimmar Raider, which will give the spawn of Galakraz mount, but it's not soloable. There's some achievements that are really annoying, so I'm not going to talk about that in much detail here because most of this stuff is aimed at solo play. But if you are looking to do the meta achievements in a group, then it's worth checking out some achievement discords, and you could even also check out my Discord. There's a link in the description below. Ask around and see if anyone's interested in getting a group going to do some of the old meta achievements. So that does bring us to an end of our Mr. Pandaria Mount Farm World Tour Part 1. I did want to do this in one big episode, but it'd be about 40-50 minutes long because there's just too many mounts in Pandaria, so I decided to cut it in half and do it that way. But I do want to thank Black Desert Online for sponsoring this video, as it's the first sponsor I've actually taken in my 9 or so years of doing YouTube. That's a lot of videos. And the reasoning for that is it's not due to lack of offers, but more because this was a game I felt confident and comfortable promoting, as it's a game I've played and enjoyed in the past. So if you are interested in checking it out, definitely take a look at the link in the description down below. Outside of that, look out for part 2 coming pretty soon. Thanks for watching, guys. See ya. The Mount Farm World Tour is back with part 2 of our Pandaria World Tour. In part 1 we covered the first half of Pandaria, so if you did miss that episode with the other World Tour episodes, there'll be a link in the description below to a playlist where you can check that out. But in part 2 we are going to continue our journey. Now that we're done in the Vale, we're going to be heading over to the Jade Forest, and in the Jade Forest you'll find the Arboretum. Here you'll be able to grind the reputation for the Order of the Cloud Serpent, and you can't get rep tokens from the Warbringers or War Scouts for this faction, but there is a grindable method of getting rep. From this rep, once we hit Exalted, you will get the Azure, the Jade, and the Golden Cloud Serpents. One will be for free at the end of the questline, and then the other two you'll purchase from the reputation vendor. To get this started, as I said, head over to the Jade Forest and the Arboretum, and then you'll find an NPC called Elder and Lee, and they'll send you on a quest line to go to the Windward Isle. You'll go there, you'll have a few quests to pick up some eggs and save the serpents and kill some mobs, and once you're done with all those quests, eventually you'll have another quest, which will be to pick an egg colour. That'll be for the Jade, the Azure, or the Golden Cloud Serpent. It doesn't really matter which one you pick. This is just which one you're going to get for free at the end of the questline once you hit Exalted. So just pick whichever one you want, basically. And then you'll be sent back to Elder and Lee. And from that point, we can do the point that will give us the grindable reputation. So you can either keep doing the dailies if you want to, that they give a good chunk of reputation. Or if you head back to the Windward Isle, there'll be eggs around the island called Onyx Eggs. I'll show a map in a moment. But these are kind of around the edges, up on the ledges and stuff. And if you find an Onyx Egg, you'll loot it, and you'll send it back to Elder and Lee, and that will give you 500 rep per egg. So you can just keep flying around the Windward Isle, getting as many eggs as possible and handing those in. Alternatively, if you head over to the Timeless Isle, which we'll talk about in more detail soon, there's a section called the Blazing Way, and you'll find mobs called the Crimson Scale Firestorms there. Killing those will give you about a 10% chance of getting a Quivering Firestorm egg. This is a BOA item, so you could farm it on a lesser populated realm, and if you send that back to Elder and Lee, that is going to give you 1,000 reputation. So better than the Onyx Eggs, but more difficult to come by, so it's up to you which way you want to go about it. Also, similar to the other reps at Revered, you can head over to the Quartermaster, who's in the same little area that Elder and Lee is, and you'll be able to purchase the item that will give you the double reputation up to Exalted, so definitely do that. Once you are Exalted, you can finish the questline with Elder and Lee. That will give you your free mount, and then you'll be able to go and purchase the other two as well. And there we go, that's the Order of the Cloud Serpent done. Our next destination is going to be east of the Jade Forest. You'll find the Timeless Isle, so you can head out there by flying, or alternatively, if you're in the Vale, you can head above Mogushan Palace. Chromie will be there with a quest that will give you an item that will teleport you directly there. If you never hand in that quest, just keep getting rid of it, and you can make use of that teleport whenever you want, basically. So on the Timeless Isle, our first mount is going to be the Heavenly Golden Cloud Serpent, a really nice looking mount, and this mount requires you to be exalted with the Emperor Xiao Hao faction, and then have 100,000 Timeless coins. That bit's not too bad, because we're going to be getting those passively anyway as we go along. So the way you get rep with Emperor Xiao Hao is first of all by doing the dailies found around the Celestial Court, basically to do stuff on the Timeless Isle, and the main way is going to be killing the Yongol mobs found on the Timeless Isle. You'll find those in the Firewalker Ruins, the Blazing Way, and Ordon Sanctuary. Now unfortunately, Ordon Sanctuary is only accessible if you have the legendary cloak from Mr. Pandaria, which is no longer obtainable. Some people do claim there's ways of kind of bugging yourself over there without being teleported out, but for the most part you won't be able to access that. Either way though, there are plenty of Yongol for you to kill in the Firewalker Ruins and Blazing Way, so just be killing those as you go along. And make sure you're looting the timeless coins as well and killing any Yongol rares that you see. You can also at Honoured pick up the Scroll of Challenge for 500 coins, and if you take it to the Free Breeze Terrace, which is kind of northwest of the zone, there'll be a pillar that will spawn every once in a while that you can activate. There'll be a bunch of mobs that spawn there that will give you a good chunk of reps. That's worth doing as well. But keep grinding your way to Exalted, get your 100,000 timeless coins, and get yourself that really nice looking mount. Also in the Blazing Way you'll find a rare spawn called Hulon, and this mob has a 1% chance of dropping the Thundering Onyx Cloud Serpent. Not a bad looking mount. This rare is on about a 40 to 50 minute respawn time, and as I said you can find it in the Blazing Way. And where I am on the video right now is where it will spawn, so you'll want to ideally be stood in this location as it dies very quickly, so if you're not ready to get a tag on it, you're probably going to miss out if you're on a fairly populated server. Now the cool thing about this rare is it can be killed multiple times per day and you'll still have a chance of getting loot. So you could kill it once or you could kill it 10 times in one day, and every single time you kill it you'll have a chance of getting the mounts. That's worth noting. The final thing of interest here is also in the Blazing Way. You'll find this NPC called Speaker Gulan, who will allow you to purchase the Firewatcher's Oath, which will allow you to kind of flag up and kill players, and while this is active you'll gain these bloody coins. If you get 500 of these bloody coins, you can take them back to Speaker Gulan and purchase the Ashhide Mushin Beast. This is going to be kind of a rough grind, but you know, just keep popping it as you go along. It can be used in Battlegrounds, I believe, still. Kind of rough to use in Battlegrounds because you're probably going to die fairly quickly, but you'll be progressively working towards that. If your Timeless Isle is fairly active as well, you could also buy the Censer of Eternal Agony, which can only be used on the Timeless Isle, but it's a way of getting a few more coins as well.
Yeah.
We're now done with the Timeless Isle, so next up we'll be heading over to Krasarang Wilds, and kind of in the southeast you'll find the Angler's Wharf. Here you'll find the reputation, the Anglers, and if you get Exalted with them, you'll get the Azure Water Strider mount. This is fairly straightforward. You'll just get fishing with the fishing profession, and you'll unlock all of the dailies there, and then you'll just do the dailies every single day. It's to catch fish and kill mobs, fairly straightforward ones, and keep gaining reputation. There's no grindable method with this, unfortunately. You just have to keep coming back and doing your dailies. Now, there is also an item at Revered as well that you can purchase that will give you that bonus rep, so do make sure you do that. And then there are free bonus dailies that you can also hand in, and these are to catch these kind of rarer fish, the Flying Tiger Gourami, the Mimic Octopus, and the Spinefish Alpha. Those are all going to give you an additional 350 rep per day each, so it is worth trying to get those. And you can get them from the schools where the fish come from, like the Flying Tiger fish or the Octopus fish, or you can get them in open water as long as the zone gives the fish that, you know, the special fish is related to, basically. So if there are Flying Tiger fish that can be fished there, then chances are you can get the kind of green rare version as well. Also in Krasarang Wild, you'll have your main faction reputation to grind up to. That's for Horde is going to be the Dominance Offensive, and for Alliance Operation Shield Wall. To get this started, if you haven't got your base set up yet, then you'll want to head over to the Vale, and just in front of your base in Vale, like your Horde or Alliance hub, there'll be a Horde or Alliance NPC there. So for Horde it's this Tauren guy. We'll give you the breadcrumb quest, I think it's the Scout or something, and that will take you over to Krasarang, and you'll begin setting up your base and aiding Garrosh, etc. And then once that's set up, you'll have story quests to do, which unlock every kind of X amount of reputation gained, and then you'll have daily quests. So you just want to be coming in here, doing your daily quests, doing the story quests when they pop up, and once you're done with the story quest, you'll be given the Grand Wyvern for Horde, or the Grand Griffin for Alliance, and then at Exalted you'll be able to purchase from the Quartermaster the Grand Armoured Wyvern, or the Grand Armoured Griffin. There is also the Revered item that you can buy that will give you that additional reputation, so do make sure you are purchasing that. And there is one additional daily you can also do as well in Half Hill, in Valley of the Four Winds, which we'll be getting onto in a little bit. But once you have your farm set up there, you'll be able to get an additional daily too. So if you want to maximize your rep, you want to make sure you're doing that too. The next stop on our world tour is going to be the Valley of the Four Winds, and the river just across from the Silken Fields you'll find the world boss Galleon. Once again, that's on about a 15-minute respawn timer, and killing this will have about a 0.07% chance of dropping the Son of Galleon. Once again, you can use a charm on this, one of the greater charms of good fortune, to give yourself an additional chance at the mount each week, and as it is a world boss, you'll have one shot at this per character per week. Next up, you'll want to head over to Half Hill, which is pretty much in the middle of the zone, and from there we're going to be able to get the 3 riding goat mounts. These come from Tiller's Exalted, and to get started with the Tiller's faction, you'll want to head to kind of the left side of Half Hill. There you'll find an NPC called Farmer Yoon. He'll have a quest for you, you'll go through his quest, you'll basically be setting up the farm and clearing it, and he'll teach you how to plant and grow things. And then eventually you'll unlock the dailies. There should be about 5 dailies per day to do, and then you'll also have story quests that will pop up as well as you progressively go through the reputation. And then also this faction does have the revered item that you can purchase that will give you that bonus rep to Exalted. So just keep coming back, doing your dailies, and then eventually you will hit Exalted and you can purchase the 3 riding goats. That's everything we need to do in Valley of the Four Winds, so next up we'll be heading over to Dread Wastes, where we'll be able to get the Amber Scorpion. This is going to come from the Calaxi faction, and the main way of getting reputation from that is going to be from the Zandalari Warbringers and the Zandalari War Scouts again with those 1000 rep tokens. But the Calaxi do also have dailies that you can unlock, and for that you'll want to head over to the wall at Spider Ruins. There'll be an NPC on the wall that will give you a couple of quests. You'll run through those quests, you'll aid the Calax there, and then you'll be taken to Calaxivis, I think it's called, their like main base. Keep following through this main quest line, and eventually you'll unlock dailies, and you just want to be doing the main quest lines that pop up, and the dailies every day as well, and then eventually you will hit Exalted and you'll be able to purchase the Amber Scorpion from the faction vendor there. This faction also does have the revered item that you can purchase that is going to give you that bonus rep all the way to Exalted. That's Dread Waste now done, so next up we'll be heading over to Townlong Steppes, and in Townlong Steppes you'll find an area called Shadowpan Garrison, so you want to head there and we'll find the faction the Shadowpan. You get the Shadowpan to Exalted, you'll be able to purchase the Shadowpan Riding Tigers, and also once you do hit Exalted there'll be an additional quest called Surprise Attack, which will give you the Onyx Cloud Serpent, so quite a few mounts from this faction. Just head over to the Shadowpan Garrison and do the dailies available there until you do hit Exalted. Also you can kill the Zandalari Warbringers and the Zandalari War Scouts for those rep tokens, and this faction also does have the revered item you can use that will give you that bonus rep too, so grab that. Our final zone is now up on the world tour of Pandaria, and that is going to be the Isle of Thunder. The first thing up there is going to be the Crimson Primal Direhorn for Horde and the Golden Primal Direhorn for Alliance. That is going to come from the Sun Reaver Offensive for Horde and the Kirin Tor Offensive from Alliance once you do hit Exalted. And to get started with this, we'll want to go to Townlong Steppes to Shadowpan Garrison, which is where you should roughly be. And just kind of north of the Shadowpan Garrison you'll find an NPC for Alliance, and a bit southish you'll find one for Horde. You'll pick up their quest, go through the chain, and that will take you to the Isle of Thunder, and continue questing through their chain. There'll be a bunch of quests to do, and also a few scenarios to go through. It'll take an hour or so, but once you're done with that, you'll have your base set up in the Isle of Thunder, and you'll be able to go to a mission table, and this mission table will allow you to select either PvE dailies or PvP dailies. I would recommend the PvE ones as those do give you more rep, and just keep basically doing those over and over again, coming back to the island, picking up any main story quests that pop up along the way, and then progressively working through the dailies too. Now there is a main grindable method for this as well, but it's exclusive to rogues, so if you're interested in that I will leave a link to that in the description down below, but for everyone else you are only going to be able to do daily quests. The next mount on the Isle of Thunder is going to be the Thundering Cobalt Cloud Serpent, and this is going to be on about a 0.05% drop chance from Nilak. Nilak is a world boss you'll find just in kind of like the courtyard in front of the Throne of Thunder, which is northish of the island, and that is a world boss, so you're going to be able to kill that once per week per character, at about a 15-minute respawn, and to have an additional chance at the mount you will want to have Mogu Runes of Fate. The final stop on our world tour of Pandaria is going to be the Throne of Thunder, and you can do this on 10-man, 25-man, normal, heroic, it doesn't really matter, just head inside and make your way to the second boss, Horadon. Killing Horadon will give you about a 3% chance of getting the Spawn of Horadon mount, and then you'll make your way over to the 6th boss, which is going to be Ji-Kun, and killing Ji-Kun is going to give you about a 3% chance of the Clutch of Ji-Kun mount. Now there's nothing really you need to know about this raid, it's pretty straightforward and linear. There is a bit after the 4th boss where you've got to kill or click 3 bells around the room, and that will summon the 5th boss. If you don't do that, the 5th boss won't spawn and you can't progress. Outside of that, there's nothing else that's really tricky or weird for you to know. And then also watch out for snails, they're pretty damn dangerous. Then there is also the Glory of the Thundering Raider achievement meta that you can do in this raid. It is all technically soloable, and doing this will give you the Armored Skyscreamer mount. But there are a couple of achievements that are pretty damn hard to solo, like Soft Hands and Crossing the Beams is Bad or something along those lines. So those might be a bit rough for you to solo, but you can give it a go if you want. And if you do need help, check out some Discords. Hey, you could even check out my Discord, there's a link in the description below. And there might be some people in there willing to help you out and get the achievements done. Outside of that, the last thing to talk about is time walking. When the Mr. Pandaria time walking is around, you can use your time warp badges on the Timeless Isle. There'll be a new NPC there, and you can buy reputation tokens for quite a few of the factions mentioned here. Most people use them on the Anglers because that's a daily only faction and people don't like doing fishing, so they kind of get through that with the time warp badges instead. Also, with 5,000 time warp badges, you can buy the Reigns of the Heavenly Jade Cloud Serpent, I think it is, and that's another mount in your collection that you can get once time walking is around. And that officially brings us to the end of this world tour. So thanks for watching, guys. Look out for more videos coming soon. See ya! The Mount Farm World Tour is back again, and this time we're going to take a look at the mounts found in Draenor. And if you've missed the previous World Tour episodes, there will be a link to a playlist in the description below. Click that playlist, that'll show you all the other continents we've covered and all the mounts found within those continents, so worth checking out if you're newer to mount collecting. And our first stop is going to be your garrison. This was one of the main features of Warlords of Draenor, and this has a lot of mounts locked behind it. And if you haven't set this up before, I would recommend getting yours to level 3 before you get going with anything else. For that, you want to go to either Orgrimmar or Stonewind and pick up the kind of intro Warlords of Draenor quests. Go through that, that'll take you to like Blasted Lands and Tanan Jungle, and then to Frostfire Rage's Horde or Shadowmoon Valley as Alliance. You could make your own way there if you want to without doing that intro quest line. I wouldn't recommend it though. It's going to be an absolute pain without flying unless someone's going to help you out. Either way, get your garrison set up, go through the quest line. Eventually you'll be given a level 1 garrison. That's no good to us really though, so continue following that quest line and eventually you'll get a quest to upgrade it to level 2. From there you'll need gold and garrison resources. Resources can be obtained from an item you can buy off the auction house called the Ogre Cache, I think it's called. Generally how I do it, you just buy a bunch of those. It's going to give you 1,000 resources per one, so pretty easy way of doing it. Alternatively, you can go around Draenor looting treasures, those will give you resources. And a pretty good yield is from Tanan Jungle, these like radiating Apexis crystals. These are pretty much farmable, you just run around looting those over and over again. They don't give much, but you can keep doing it until you've got the amount you need. But Ogre Cache is going to be your best bet if you've got the gold to spend. Either way, get your garrison to level 3, and then from there we can kind of get going with things. The first garrison thing we're going to talk about is the garrison invasion / bosses, and these are events that will happen, kind of assaults that will happen on your garrison. And from those you'll have a chance of getting 1 of 4 mounts, or maybe even more if you look at it, but the Garn Steelmaw, the Giant Cold Snout, the Shadow Hide Pearl Tusk, and the Smoky Direwolf. All 4 of these are on about a 1% drop chance, but you will have multiple chances per week per character getting one of these. So to get a garrison invasion started, you will need at least a level 2 garrison, but some people do say it's kind of weird with level 2, so I would recommend having a level 3 anyway. You're going to need that for later on stuff. And you'll want to head over to Sergeant Crawler if you're Horde, or Sergeant Grimjaw if you're Alliance, and pick up a scouting missive. I would recommend picking up one that's closest to your garrison, just so it's quicker. Head out, complete that, head back to your garrison, and then you should have a quest to start a garrison assault. Speak to the NPC, and then they'll have a little box saying, hey, are you ready to defend your garrison? Click yeah. And then you'll have waves of mobs to defend from your garrison, and there'll be a point system all the way up to 1.3k plus. And there'll be different tiers: bronze, silver, gold, and platinum. Bronze and silver don't give you anything mount related. Gold and platinum do though. Each gold will give you a bag and platinum will also give you a bag. So you want to make sure you are hitting the 1.3k at least, which is very easily done as a 120 character. You can literally just AFK and your NPCs will handle it all for you. If you're lower level though, you will need to do some work of running around and killing as much stuff as possible. There is also a small chance after completing an invasion to get an item that will summon a boss, which is going to be an additional chance at getting the mount every week. But those are extremely rare. I don't think I've ever seen one myself. You can join other people's groups if they have one up and kill their garrison boss for that extra chance. The next garrison thing we're going to talk about is the stables. This is a building you can plop down in your garrison, and right off the bat with a level 1 stables you'll be able to start picking up the dailies. And these dailies will be to either go and capture some kind of beast, up to 6 of them that you'll have in total, or train the beast that you already have. So day 1 you're always going to be capturing a beast, which will be either a talbuk or a cleft hoof depending on your faction. Once you have that, you'll come back the next day and you'll probably have to go capture a new one and then train the previous one. And that'll just be to mount up on it and then defeat something in combat. Fairly straightforward. So from the initial dailies, it'll take about 2 weeks. You're going to get 6 mounts: the trained Snarler, the trained Silverpelt, the trained River Wallow, the trained Rock Tusk, the trained Meadow Stomper, and the trained Ice Hoof. So you'll want to upgrade your stables to level 2 and 3, and the reasoning behind that is you're going to get items that will be in the stables that you can put in your bags, and these will make your mounts weaker, but as you defeat the enemies within that ground for your mount training, you'll be progressing towards an achievement, and once you complete the achievement for all of your kind of mounts, then you'll gain an additional 2 mounts, one from each achievement, and that will be the Armored Frostwolf and the Armored Frostboar. So definitely worth doing, because at the end of the day, after about 2 weeks, you'll have 8 mounts, and the dailies don't take very long at all, so it's a pretty good yield for the time that it takes. The next garrison thing we're going to talk about is the Fishing Shack, and from this you're going to get the Crimson Water Strider as the main objective, but there are other things we can get with it as well, which we'll talk about a bit later on. So for this we will need a level 3 Fishing Shack, so go and unlock your level 1 Fishing Shack, do the quest line, upgrade it to level 2, and then from there you want to head out into Draenor and fish up these enormous fish. You'll need to fish up 100 of each type to travel to all the different zones, and then you'll be working towards the Draenor Angler achievement. Once you've done that achievement, you will unlock the Fishing Shack level 3, and you can plop down your Fishing Shack level 3, which will allow you to go on a quest chain to unlock Nat Peggle, bring him to your garrison. And this guy is good for a couple of reasons. First of all, he's going to sell us the Crimson Water Strider, so we need him there. But we can also attach him to our Fishing Shack. You can put him in there as a worker, and that will allow you to fish up these lunkers without bait. And lunkers are what we need to hand it into Nat Peggle to increase his reputation with us, which we're going to need for the mount. And then he's also going to give us a lucky coin for getting these lunkers too. So very, very important. And from there, it's basically just go and pick somewhere and farm away. Keep farming lunkers all day long until you have enough lunkers to get to his best friend rank and have enough coins to purchase the stuff that you want to purchase. The other thing we can do in the garrison with the level 3 Fishing Shack is if you fish in your garrison itself, then you have a chance of fishing up a Lunarfall Carp if you're Alliance, or a Frostdeep Minnow if you're Horde, and this will summon a mob, a little Murloc. You'll kill the Murloc, and that will have a chance, a very, very tiny chance of dropping a Sea Turtle or a Riding Turtle. If you can, try and find a group that's doing this, because you can loot other people's mobs that they kill. So the more people you have trying to do this, the better your odds are going to be, because you're going to be getting more of these Murlocs killed, giving you a better chance of looting them out. So doing it in a group is the best bet. The next garrison thing on our list is going to be the Trading Post. This is another building that you're going to want to get down in your garrison, and then you want to upgrade it to level 2. And once it's level 2, you'll unlock the faction Laughing Skull Orcs for Horde, which Exalted will allow you to get the Ironside Warwolf, or for Alliance it will give you the Shatari Defensive, which will allow you to purchase the Armored Iron Tusk Exalted. And these reps are just straightforward rep grinds, like mob grinds. There's no weird stuff to it. You literally just pick a location that gives rep and grind the mobs over and over again until you hit Exalted. For Horde, that's going to be the Pit in Gorgrond. There's going to be a juicy bit in the middle where there's a ton of mobs. Unfortunately, they do not give reputation. Instead, it's kind of the mobs all around the upper outer section. There's a ton of elites there that are going to give you about 15 rep per kill, and the rares will give you 50 rep as well in that area. So worth killing those. Also as Horde, you could farm over in the Everbloom to the right hand side of Gorgrond. I don't like that as much, but it's not that big of a difference. It's just personal preference, really. For Alliance, you'll want to head over to Talador and you'll find Shatraf City. And then just left-ish of the main bit of Shatraf City, you'll find all the elites and stuff in that section. And that's mostly where you want to be, but just keep grinding mobs until you do hit Exalted. The other reason the Trading Post is really, really useful to us is you can upgrade it to level 3 once you have one exalted Draenor faction. So you either want to do the Laughing Skull / Shatari defensive, or there's going to be another rep we'll talk about in a little bit called the Steam Wheedle Preservation, which is a very easy rep to get to exalted, and that will allow you to unlock the level 3 trading post. Once you have a level 3 trading post, all other rep gains in Draenor are going to be increased by 20%. So that should be one of your first objectives, is to get that to level 3, because that's going to give you rep increases with everything else we do, just saving you some time in the long run. But it's up
to go.
Continuing with the garrison stuff, the next thing is when your garrison is level 3, within the kind of main hall, your town hall, you'll be able to head in there and you'll find a trader NPC. Speaking to that NPC will give you the option to buy 2 mounts. You'll be able to buy the Rock Tusk Battle Football for 10,000 gold, or the Witherhide Cliff Stomper for 20,000 gold. So not that expensive really, and there's 2 more mounts that you can add to your collection very easily. The next thing is also in your town hall, and that is going to be the mission table. And from the mission table you can unlock a rare mission called Breaker 2, which will award you with the Coalfist Gronlin mount. But this mount is a BOE mount,